Hi guys, welcome to my live stream. Lunatic plays. I'm the lunatic who plays Cities Skylines 2. Woo! Hello, I'm back. Hello, Raven, Ima. Hi, my friends. All the screens that are supposed to participate in today's live stream are gonna show up. Sorry, I've been running. I've been running so fucking much today. And yeah. Oh, I got a notification. Okay. Can you hear me? What? Oh my god, sorry, I'm getting a virus notification for fucking City Skylines. Cause why the hell not? Okay, is it on? It's on. Uh-huh. Is it showing up on stream? No, it's like, Jesus, I was running so much because Neff cried for dumplings and I was like literally like making dumplings 30 minutes ago and trying to get them ready for him before coming to the live stream, and that's why I was delayed. Are we getting City Skylines? Anyway, so today we're meeting up to play City Skylines as soon as City Skylines decides that it wants to show up on the screen. And we are going to be watching the Shetty interview with Madonna, which, like, Madonna never does interviews, let alone podcasts. So, like, I'm actually really curious to hear what she has to say. And that's why we're coming on today. And also, I'm really behind on making stuff for the episode, so yeah, I really need to get, like, this weekend needs to be dedicated to City Skylines, because if I'm going to release the next episode next week, I better get to work. I was struggling, to be honest, with a little bit of inspiration block for where to go from here. Hi Everton, how are you? Welcome to the live stream. I hope you don't mind me eating. I got myself some jellies. Okay. The game will show up at any stage. I'm gonna try to set up the browser feed so we can see Madonna. To be honest, I watched 30 minutes of that interview already because I was just so curious what it is about. I don't want to spoiler myself too much just to like react on the live stream, but I just wanted to see more or less what's the tone of the discussion. If there was like anything that I needed to put a disclaimer for. So no, it seems like it's a lot of ESO bullshit. So you might see me getting really upset about ideological contexts today. Especially like this year I have abandoned my faith, so I'm still kind of freshly annoyed at how brainwashed I was. So you might see me having some charged emotions when it comes to Madonna's esotericism. Oh, and Cities Skylines joined us. Great. Here it is. I'm good, Everton. Thank you for asking. Welcome to the live stream. Are you here for the Madonna? Or are you here for the City Skylines? Because we're gonna do both. I just want to make this window as big as possible. Let's make it like this. And now we're gonna get the browser. Browser. It is here. All right. Browser. Okay, it ADHD relief content. Right? I mean, I feel like Rotten Mango was the pinnacle, like was ADHD central. I was here playing Cities Skylines and live streaming it. Meanwhile, reacting to Stephanie Sue tell us about a book that she read. Meanwhile, she's baking a cake and I'm playing City Skylines. Like that was great. It was really really good. um. All right. Oh. Okay, so I had Stephanie Sue here before, but let me put YouTube over here, just so that maybe we can encroach a little bit on the City Skyline space. What do you think? What do you think with a setup like this? Or should I make the City Skylines window a bit smaller? What do you prefer? How do you prefer to do it? Because if we're going to watch things, is this how you want it, or are you okay with the window being smaller, or how do you foresee this happening? And meanwhile, I see that the mods have loaded, so I'm gonna turn on Concordia, because before we begin with the interview, I actually want to tell you guys what I've done, what I'm doing, what's the plan, where are we taking Concordia. The sound is more important than the visuals. Okay, so I'm gonna do it like this. Is this good? Yeah? Because I was trying to come up with like a layout so we can have like, yes, the City Skylines is the main thing because it's for the series on my channel, but also I am listening and reacting to content from YouTube, so I wanted to have it there. It's mostly stuff that people talk about, so there's not a lot of visual stimulation happening anyways, but in case you want to see it, I wanted to put it in there. So I just wanted to like, you know. Okay, welcome to Concordia. As you can see, I've done some stuff. I haven't done enough, and I haven't done that much. I haven't even started decorating yet. So I'm hoping that maybe today we can do the park. But there's a couple of things that I started doing. So as you can see, like I was doing the touch-ups, I was adding certain things. Like I had initially tactiles here on the sports complex, but I don't think that I've saved it. And I also had these like docking bollards. They're actually just chimney props, but I wanted to add them to make it like seem like you can, tie a boat on this to like really give it the dockland feeling. And I colored them this beautiful like bronze golden color. So yeah, like I refreshed this area just a little bit, and then I added obviously a couple of things. So the Netherlands pack has dropped, and we got this lovely crematorium, and I was initially just substituting with these like French crematorium assets for Concordia. But this Netherlands crematorium thing that dropped is kind of cool, and I knew that I wanted to have a sort of like a semi-industrial sort of spot down by the bridge. So I included this one here, and I think that the brown brick building really works, and I absolutely love the garage asset. Like obviously I got rid of all the like stuff that came with the building, like its assets, its props, its fences, shrubs, and yada yada yada. But I think like it fits really nicely here. I initially thought of having maybe a park here and industries over there, but it kind of just fit in here. I think it's so cool. So this kind of like lower key area is where all the like informal Concordia inner city center magic happens. Like we have a little petrol station, a little convenience store. I love these Japanese convenience stores. They're gorgeous. Oh my god, we got a Shell petrol station! Would you look at that? Isn't that gorgeous? Oh my god, that's so cool. I didn't know that we actually had real world brands in there. Is this a mod? I mean, it's cool. I love it. Oh, avocado! Thank you. So here I did this, and then I put these office buildings here, and I started putting these industrial buildings over here, but I want this bridge to be historic, so I kind of put this just as a little test to see if I can make a tunnel, and if I can make if I can kind of add these medieval prop pack items in a line to make a historic looking bridge. So we will experiment a little bit with that, and let's see where it takes us. I mean, I feel like this is gonna be a lot of experimentation, but hopefully it pays off. Let's see. Like my first thing with this would be to bring these tunnel like arched parts of the prop and actually align it properly and bring it all across the length of the bridge, and hopefully align it in such a way that if we do a first person camera we can walk through it. I don't know if I'll do the same for like the archways that we would have over here. Maybe I would like leave them hollow on the inside, just so that like you have the visual on the outside, but you don't really look in. You know what I mean? So we'll take a look at that. I popped in a supermarket because I feel like we have this sprawling city center, and sure enough, we have our shopping gallery over there. But we also need something like a Lidl or something like that. So we've got this lovely white and red, Poland mentioned, colored shopping market zone. So it's like a combination of these Japanese low commercial buildings recolored and compiled together to create this thing that looks like a grocery supermarket. And then it has another petrol station because we don't really have enough of them around. And then here I'm doing the historic docks, so I kind of like put these little docking stations or whatever that is, and this Neo Barracks asset that I actually used the static ploppable version of that one, but it's going to be kind of like a nightclub entertainment kind of area. And then we obviously have the Forum of Arts special building over there, which I actually think it looks so cool when you bring it out into the water like that. I think it kind of like it starts looking really cool. The detailing is going to be central to this area, but here I feel like I was a little bit uninspired when it came to this area, and I wanted to include more industries just to like have a little bit of that diversity. But we are gonna have a lot of industries kind of like from here to about here on the other side of the bridge. So I'm sort of thinking to maybe get rid of some of this and then do the waterfront a little bit differently here. And I'm thinking to do a little yacht club kind of thing. So maybe have like a couple of stacked like terraced coffee shops, nightclubs, bars kind of thing, facing the water, and then have like a wooden boardwalk out on the water, and then boats. We don't have boats in the game, but I can make the boardwalk. So I could do the boardwalk, kind of giving it the idea that the boats might sometimes be there. So yeah, I'm thinking of doing that. So I think I might be getting rid of this. But I do think that maybe for today I just want to focus on the park thing because I have a pretty solid idea on what I want to do. So we're gonna drag the bike lane on the top, then bring some concrete blocks to create a little kind of like an elevated area, some stores. Alongside here, another pedestrian path going through here, and then kind of like a stairway that will also serve as like a massive plaza sitting area, and then maybe a little cotton here with a fountain. So it's gonna be like a plaza commercial area, chill out spot, old dockland repurposed, sort of a thing. So yeah. I think we can definitely get into it. And let's start with the Shetty Madonna interview. Yeah, as you see,
To get asked the question.
I've listened to about 35 minutes.
If you don't have a spiritual life.
But yeah, it's gonna be a lot of spiritual mumbo jumbo. So just trigger warning if you have religious trauma like I do. This is gonna be very triggering for you and for me. So let's get into it.
You're never going to stop and ask any questions. You're just going to plow through life, and you're going to see everything that happens to you.
I know that this is a toxic pattern to comment on a female celebrity's looks, but doesn't she look incredible? Like, doesn't she look so fucking good? Like, I saw a couple of really unpleasant pictures of her, and I saw that maybe her plastic surgery got botched. But doesn't she just look so fucking incredible? The only thing that I'm going to say is, because she's 68. She's 60 fucking 8, and sure enough, she's probably having a facelift every single year for her birthday. But she slays. She's 60 fucking 8 years old. The only thing I'm gonna say is that I noticed that the lighting is very different than what it normally is on Shetty interviews. It's a very strategic lighting, so it makes me think that maybe her team came in, propped up the lights in a particular way to make her look like this. But even then, if she can make it happen at 68 years old, she has her moments, she looks gorgeous.
As just a random event. I don't believe that anything is random. I think everything that happens to us is meant to happen to us, to teach us some kind of a lesson.
The #1 health and wellness podcast.
Shetty.
Shetty.
The one, the only Shetty.
Can you hear it okay?
Madonna, welcome to On Purpose. I am so grateful to be here with you today. Thank you for
Maybe
the
this is
honor and the
better now.
opportunity. And
Thank you for having me.
I'm really, really happy to be with you after lots of FaceTime calls
Yeah,
and discussions about this conversation. We're finally
good to finally
here
be in
the
person.
flesh. Absolutely, absolutely. And I wanted to start off by asking, you don't do a lot of interviews. We don't see you doing interviews maybe even for the last 9-10 years, or give or take.
Mhm.
What's your intention for being here today? Why now? Why today?
Well, in the past, I've usually done interviews to promote my work, whether that's music or a tour or film. But today, I would like to talk about my spiritual life and the spiritual path that I've been on for over 28 years. This wisdom has
And she's
helped
about
me
to talk.
navigate the ups and downs of life, for lack of a better expression. People ask me a lot through the years, like, what is the reason you're still sane? What is the reason you keep going? Why have you not fallen by the wayside like other people? Definitely a lot of my peers who are no longer with us, like, what would you say is the key? And I would say that is my spiritual life. I absolutely would not be where I am or who I am if I did not have that. It's helped me enormously, as I said, navigate the ups and downs of life. So I feel like I would like to share that with people. So that's really the point of, I'm not here to promote a product, or I don't want anyone to buy anything.
Yeah, I mean, look, like Jay Shetty is the guy that celebrities come to speak about a lot of spiritual things because he used to be a monk himself. So, like, that's what he's famous for. He actually wrote this book, and I have his book. It's called How to Live Like a Monk or something like that. But basically, he's from London originally, and I think that his parents, he's partially Indian, or someone is Indian or Pakistani or something of that nature. I mean, like someone of that nationality. And he got drawn to become a Buddhist monk at an early age. When he was a teenager, I think he joined some kind of ashram, and then he went to India. I think India, somewhere in Asia, like it was either India or Pakistan, somewhere there. He went there and he joined. I wanted to say he joined the cult, sort of. I mean, he joined the monastery, and he became a monk. And then he stopped being a monk. He dropped out, and he married his wife. But he still kind of brings a lot of these Buddhist teachings and wisdom and stuff with him to Hollywood, where he speaks to a lot of celebrities and interviews them and talks to them about their spiritual life. So the context is that he sort of does this with all celebrities anyways. Some more than others, but this one is definitely the one on the more side.
I just I want to share something with people that has pretty much saved my life. That sounds dramatic, but it's true.
Yeah, it seems like it's something that's extremely meaningful to you and a deep part of your life that often I feel you don't get to share in other spaces. So even though it's been a part of your life for nearly 3 decades.
I used to say the same thing. Like this is why this is so triggering for me, because I was spiritual, like very spiritual. Like I was doing even tarot cards here on the live stream and stuff like that, and I thought it saved my life, but like it depends maybe what kind of brand of spirituality you're doing or whatever. But the way that it was taking me, I realized that it was basically like Christianity repackaged, patriarchy repackaged, all these rules of society, all this stupid social convention of like gender rules or like traditionality or stuff like that. Like the way that it was being packaged to me seemed just so opposite to what it was preaching, because the spirituality always tries to preach like freedom of thought, freedom of spirit, you know, like you are so free, but then it tries to push you into this very narrow constraint of who and how you're supposed to be. And I realized that it's exactly the same thing that Christianity is doing. And I left Christianity when I was a teenager because I hated it for how constraining it was, and for the veneration of suffering that was happening inside of this cult. And I realized that I was being brought into another cult just like that. And then like Mormons do this a lot. What helped me getting out of my spirituality was exactly this. Like I was watching a lot of Mormons who left their religion. They realized that they were being indoctrinated and all that. And it's like when you talk about your convention, about your spirituality or religion, like you get this very like almost inhumane, like, it saved my life. The bliss and the joy of being one with God. You know, like, I just heard, can I sing? I can't sing. If I sang, your ears would bleed. But welcome anyways. So, yeah, that's why this is triggering for me, because I feel like this is not true, but it's a sort of shit that you put into your own head to make you believe that it's saving your life, or like it served you in a certain moment to think about a difficult situation, and then you got yourself through a situation, but then you accredit the entire effort of what got you through a situation to that ideology or that religion, that whatever metaphysical concept, and you don't really give yourself the credit of getting yourself through some of the most difficult times of your life, because you don't believe in yourself enough to believe that you are capable of bringing yourself through those difficult times. And to me, that's slavery. Like, you're relinquishing your own power by doing that.
It's maybe you haven't shared parts of it before. What would your life look like if you didn't find it?
I would believe that the physical world is all there is. I would believe all the illusions. And that would be my downfall. And that is most people's downfall.
What does spirituality mean to you? Because I think that word itself means so many things to so many people.
Well, yes. I mean, a spiritual life or a spiritual path could mean a lot of things. I know that you have a spiritual path, and for me, it's not really about like whose is the best, or it's whatever works for you. I've been studying Kabbalah for 29 years, so since 1996. Yeah, it's a long time.
It's a long time.
And I'm not a frivolous person. I don't suffer fools gladly. If I think
I'm not a frivolous person. I'm just Madonna, bitch.
there's something false about it, or corrupt, or not authentic, I wouldn't have stuck around for so long. I've had the same teacher for all this time. I feel like almost like it's my responsibility to share with people, because I feel like people need guidance. People need enlightenment. And for me, a spiritual life is having an internal life, because you know this, I'm sure. If we get caught up in the belief system that our value in the world is based on people loving us, or other people's approval, or how much money you have, or how many fabulous outfits you have, or how many followers you have on Instagram, those things don't make us happy. Those things don't bring us peace. So having an internal life and being able to look internally and having some kind of practice, whatever that might look like, your prayer, your meditations, the time you take out of every day to stop and take stock, like contemplate. We live in a very busy, chaotic world. Lots of noise, lots of distraction.
This is another thing that I don't like. It's always the rich people who are like, money doesn't make you happy. If you're sad, you will still be crying in a Ferrari. Well, for fuck's sake, I would love to cry in a motherfucking Ferrari. Give me one. But it's like, it's this the position of complete and utter entitlement of like, money doesn't buy you happiness, and then you disregard all these people who don't even have time to consider their place on earth, their purpose in life, and all these great things that you're talking about, because they're fighting for motherfucking survival. Like, how privileged and lucky are you, bitch? Ah!
I mean, how many times have you heard people say, social media and like all the, people can't walk down the street without listening to music. Everybody has to be visually stimulated all the time. Like, there's no peace. There's no quiet. We're not comfortable being quiet with ourselves and looking inward and asking ourselves, why am I here? Or what am I doing? Or what is my intention in this specific choice I'm making right now? Whether it's about my work or the way I'm raising my children, decisions that I make about everything, really.
Yeah.
I have to ask myself. And if you don't have a spiritual life, you're never going to stop and ask any questions. You're just going to plow through life. And if you just, and you're going to see everything that happens to you as just a random event. And I don't believe that anything is random. I think everything that happens to us is meant to happen to us, to teach us some kind of a lesson. But, the question is, are you aware enough? Are you awake enough? Are you interested enough to find out what that reason is? Like, why did this?
I can't. I can't with her. Imagine, just entertain me. Imagine a situation, you have a homeless mother with homeless 3 kids on the street begging for food every day. Imagine walking up to her and being like, you're not conscious enough of your life. Have you tried being more aware? Did you consider to bolster the awareness of the consciousness in your mind? Maybe that would feed your kids.
This happened to me. What is my lesson? I don't want to go through life seeing everything that happens to me as random, but I also don't want to go through life as a victim. And I've had a pretty challenging life, and it's easy to fall into the trap of feeling sorry for yourself, or like being a victim, or, you know, why isn't this happening to other people? Why is it happening to me? Why don't I have what that person has? I'm sure you know the expression, comparison is the killer of joy. So, you know, it's like, you got to get out of that game. You have to have a spiritual life. You just have to.
You're reminding me of...
Oh yes, poor mother of 3 without a roof over your head. You don't need money. You just need a spiritual life. You have nothing? Join a cult. Kurwa!
something beautiful that I came across called the third space theory. Have you heard of it?
Mm-mm.
It's this idea that as humans around 50
and
years
honestly,
ago...
like, this is how cults feed on you. Like, the reason why I became so spiritual and so devout was because I was in a hopeless time myself. I dealt with a lot of shit, a lot of trauma, a lot of problems in life. And this ideology, this kind of content, for me it was like partially content, partially community I was in, but they start feeding you these ideas because you're in the most vulnerable state of your life, you're in the most vulnerable state of your mind, and you're the most susceptible to get brainwashed into something insane. And this is insane. Madonna has lost her goddamn mind.
We had 3 spaces. So we had work, we had home, and then you had a temple, a synagogue, a church, a community center, or a third space.
It is.
And
It is, but it's also like you're hopeless. You need meaning because your everyday life is proving you that life seems pointless. And to many people, this will become tempting to choose something like spirituality or religion just to have even a ridiculous metaphysical explanation for why your life is so filled with suffering. But that only leads you to then start to glorify your own suffering, because you start to look at it of like, oh, I'm learning all these lessons, I am paying some sort of karmic debt. That was my case. Like, I thought I was a monster, and I thought that I was like monster, like not a monster, like I had this romanticized vision of myself of like I was an alien and something happened, like they were giving me LSD and I was having visions and shit. Like, I was just tripping balls, and I thought I was an alien and that I like did something terrible, but like it wasn't like intentional, but it was just like something that I did that was not intentional, but that resulted with something terrible. So like karmic debt has to be paid, and yeah, you know, like you you put this in my head, but like you start to glorify your own suffering, because then every mistake or everything that goes bad, you almost like you're craving it, you're going for it, and you're hurting yourself. You end up actually self-harming because of that, because you feel like the more you suffer, the more glorious you become. And it's not like that. It's not like that, especially when you start to harm yourself when you don't need to suffer.
Point of that third space, it's kind of what you're saying, was a place that you could look back at work and home, and you could reflect on your life, you could take stock, you could introspect. But as time's gone on, what's happened is we lost that third space. We stopped going to temple, church, community, whatever
A
it may
place
be.
of self-reflection.
A place of self-reflection.
Burn it down.
And we ended up with working home. And then after the pandemic, we lost work. And so now we're in one space and we don't have a different vantage point to where we are anymore, which is what I think you're saying.
Go back on even one more step that to me is like a prison. If you remove the spiritual life, spiritual practice, you remove the workplace, then you're in the home, and then removed once more from home is you're looking at your phone.
Is Madonna advocating for return to office? Because if she is, fuck her. I'm at home since COVID and I'm very happy at home.
Which is even takes you out of home.
It's a great point, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like, where are you? You're
Yeah,
nowhere.
we're all living in the virtual world.
Yeah.
We're living in the virtual world, not even in the material world. We're just
Yes, but a virtual world is not a bad word.
You see, I really wanted to start doing reaction content, Ima, because I feel like I might have 90, I have 92 years. What the fuck is wrong with me? I have 29 years in my life, but I have 60 years of experience. I have lived so fucking much. Sometimes I'm like, what the fuck? I feel like I have experience with everything. So we can watch everything from history to astral physics, and I can throw in my 2 cents, you know?
World, but if you don't have consciousness, there's really no point to living.
So it's interesting to think about that, because I feel like
Like the other day, I was so surprised that I was able to talk to you about your AI project. Like it was yesterday, we were talking about your project, and I was asking you questions, and like there was a moment where I was like asking you something, and I was just like, how do I know what I'm asking you in this moment? It's like I was asking you, but I don't know what's happening. You know? I don't know where it's coming from. But I was happy with myself because it means I can participate in conversations.
everyone can relate to the idea that if we all had, we need physical spaces
I don't know.
to sometimes make us do
It's because of Patriciusz.
internal things.
Yes, I mean, some kind of ritualistic behavior has to happen.
What have been your rituals? I'm intrigued. I'm curious. What are your spiritual practices and rituals that have been so supportive?
Imagine if this is the moment that she confirms all the conspiracy videos, and she just goes like, so my very enlightening spiritual ritual that I perform every morning is I rip out the heart of a young virgin, and then I cook it and I eat it together with her adrenochrome. You know, that's how I get that youthful glow.
Supportive and emblematic of your journey that have kept you going at the times, as you said, there were so many times you could give up or things could go wrong, or you kept pushing and they kept you locked. What were they? What are they?
Well, one really important thing is studying.
Honestly, if I ever become famous and there's conspiracies that I am in Illuminati going around, I'm probably going to fuck with people by saying shit like that.
Making time every week to sit down and study. I mean, you can study the Bible, you can study the poetry of Kahlil Gibran, or you can study the Vedas, you know.
And you did that, right? You actually
Yes,
studied different
yes.
traditions on your...
I mean, to be honest, before I discovered Kabbalah, I was looking for answers. And
Why do you think that was? Why were you looking for answers?
because I had everything that people would assume would give you happiness. I had a successful career, I had fame, fortune, monetary things, physical things.
Oh no, poor little rich girl. Oh. You had a Ferrari when you were 25? You had your own apartment at 28? You were internationally famous and had millions and millions and millions of dollars? Oh. Bless Bless your heart. Bless your heart, Madonna. That must have been so hard.
Things, but I wasn't happy. And I naturally sought out, well, when I was a dancer, I had a roommate. She was a Buddhist, and she would get up and chant every day. And so I was very intrigued by that. Like, nothing bothered her, you know what I mean? Everything bothers me. Everything bothers me. I'm a Leo. I'm Italian. I'm very dramatic.
Okay. You know what? Something that Neff sent me a reel the other day. He told me about it. I don't remember. He mentioned it to me. Not my idea anyway. So just like, don't come for me. But he told me about a comedian who was talking about how Americans, for such an anti-trans nation, they have a lot of ideological similarities to trans people, because for people who are so in love with their own nation and liberty, they sure like to take on identities of different nationalities. Like, all of them are like, I'm Italian, I'm Irish. It's like they're transnational. Right? Like, they could have been born in America, they could have lived their entire life there, but they're Irish, and Madonna's Italian.
I wouldn't say she was peaceful all the time, but I was just struck by her confidence and her knowingness that everything was happening for a reason. She never got upset about things. And this is in the beginning of my career when I was living in New York and I was broke, and
Right.
a lot of crazy things happened to me. It's really scary, traumatic things. And I would
is
always
very
ask her,
true.
her name is Marianne, I would always say, why are you never upset? So I attributed that to her spiritual life, but it didn't speak to me. And then later on, I started practicing yoga, Ashtanga yoga, and my teacher, Eddie Stern, he still has a...
Love Eddie, he's great.
You know Eddie?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
He's amazing. I got quite caught up in and competitive about first series, second series, third series. But one thing I noticed is that a lot of people would come into his practice, his studio where he taught, and they wouldn't even do the poses. They would just go and sit in front of the statue of Ganesh or light candles or prayer. And I realized, and Eddie pointed it out to me, because sometimes I would have injuries, I would be traveling and I couldn't practice yoga. And he'd say, look, are you breathing? And I'd say yes. And he said, you're practicing yoga. So I realized that I was still too caught up in the physical poses. And he's like, no, you don't understand. You're missing the whole point. The poses are just something that you do to breathe through, to calm your nervous system down, and to bring you back to your center. And that really spoke to me. There was a big, it was a painting on the wall of the yoga studio. It says desire and detachment. And I said, what does that mean? And he said, well, of course, we want all the beautiful things in life. We want all the pleasures. We want all the happiness. We want it all. There's nothing wrong with that, but you can't be attached to it, because then if you're attached to it and you don't have it, what's going to happen to you? So I studied that for a while, and I studied Sanskrit. I had a teacher, and, I learned that the vibrations of the letters, had a calming effect on your nervous system and centered you and placed you firmly rooted in the earth. And all of that made sense to me. But then, again, nothing happens by accident. But I was pregnant with my daughter, Lola, my oldest daughter. And I suddenly realized, I was living in LA, I suddenly realized I'm going to be responsible for another human being. What am I going to teach her? I'm like a meteor, making my way through on this planet. I have great survival instincts. I have a great work ethic. Yes, I'm very ambitious, all of those things. But I was never I was just knocking them down, you know what I mean? And not like looking back, like I'm going to be somebody, because that's, that's why I came to New York in the first place. I will never go back to the nobody life I had when I was a child growing up.
See, this is why I don't buy her esoteric spiritual bullshit. She would still go on and be like, I was never gonna go back to being nobody. Like, me? Poor? Never! That's disgusting! You know? Like, you're so enlightened, Madonna. Yeah, I mean, money can't buy you happiness, but you could never be nobody.
So I definitely was fueled by an inner drive, but I would not say that I was spiritual or conscious. When I was pregnant, I suddenly realized I knew nothing. And I was a slave or a victim of other people's opinions of me. And I didn't have really, even though it looks like and looked like I was confident, brave, audacious, whatever, I deep down inside I was not. So I was at a dinner party.
While you were pregnant?
Yeah. I was at a dinner party at my friend's in LA, and there was a woman sitting next to me, and I knew her vaguely. She's a costume designer. She was a costume designer. Her husband's a director. And she said, "Oh, you should come with me to class." And I said, "What class?" I'm open to classes, by the way. I love being a student. So what's the class all about? She said, "There's a teacher there. It's something called Kabbalah. It's next to a synagogue." And I was like, "Wait, so he's Jewish?" And she said, "Yeah, but it doesn't have anything to do with being Jewish. It's just a belief system, not a belief system, like a philosophy about life that, you could learn a lot from." And I,
When someone tells you, you should come and meet my friends. We're going to learn about magical symbols, and it's not a religion. It's a way of life. It's an ideology. It will help you to live. It will help you to find peace and joy in your life. Run. Bitch, run.
I said, "Okay, I'll go." So I did. And that's how I met my teacher. And I literally would sit in the back of class for years.
Listening to this is like listening to a horror story for me.
Mostly men were in the
Just in time for Halloween.
class at the time. It was, but everything that he said seemed to make so much sense to me and gave me courage to be who I am.
It's not a class. It's really a philosophy of being. Of being of information.
And who I'm meant to be, and made me actually think about intention and a real sense of purpose. Because my sense of purpose can't just be, I want to be rich and famous, or I want to be popular, or I want to sell a lot of records, because none of that lasts. But it wasn't until I went to class that I actually started thinking about those things. So I just kept going. And here I am today. But, motherhood or being a parent is really what made me start asking questions that I should have asked them sooner, but I didn't, because I was just caught up in myself.
I love that story for so many reasons. One of them being that my journey to my spirituality had certain similarities in that, not that I was pregnant, so definitely not that one, but
Are you sure, Jay?
I had a friend and friends who
certain?
were starting to get interested in spirituality, and they invited me to hear a monk speak. And I'd seen monks while I was growing up, but I'd never really engaged with one or really understood what they did or meant. And I'm so glad I said yes to going along. And I was very young. I was 18, 19 years old. I wasn't even seeking. I was open and I was curious.
Right.
And to be honest, I was doing what everyone else was doing at that time when you're an 18, 19-year-old kid, experimenting and doing everything else under the sun. But
That's a very polite British way of saying I was off my tits on drugs in a field.
so glad I went, because now looking back, I find that after meeting the monks that I met, it gave my life a compass at a very early age that I'm so grateful for, because it changed the entire trajectory of my life. I can't imagine what I would have ended up doing in the same way as you did. And it sounds dramatic, but it's true that without the group of friends that invited me to go along and meet my teachers, who would become my future teachers, I can't imagine what life could be like.
And are those teachers still your teachers?
Yes, absolutely. Still since that time. So it's been nearly 20 years now.
That's meaningful.
Yeah, very meaningful.
And are your friends that came with you still also studying or
One
practicing?
of those, yes, absolutely. One of those friends was my best man at my wedding, and he studies under the same teachers till this day.
That's
and,
cool.
Yeah. What about
The woman who took me to class, no.
Okay.
No. She didn't stick with it.
Are you still in
it's
touch
okay.
with her at all, or not?
The woman who took me to class, we ate her. We ate her. We ripped her heart out and ate her adrenochrome. Turns out she was a virgin. I still have a toe or two frozen in my freezer.
Yes, I am
Honestly,
sometimes.
Ima, you've convinced me.
It's amazing to hear that you had this ambition and this drive
Be my
Yeah.
teacher.
to become successful, and at the same time there was this spiritual calling
Yes.
that was almost happening simultaneously. How did you reconcile the two when, to the external eye, they could look very opposite? How did you actually see
Like,
them?
look weird, you mean?
Not weird in the sense of, I think a lot of people assume that spirituality and success don't go together. A lot of people would
Well,
think
that's
that.
absurd. Those are narrow-minded people. I mean, you need to be spiritual to be successful. Success is having a spiritual life, period. It's interesting because I had this boyfriend some time ago, and after we broke up, we saw each other years later, and I was telling him about Kabbalah. He's like, oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense because you grew up as a Catholic. I know how religious your mother was. And I was like, no, that's not what it is at all. It's got nothing to do with religion. Everybody has to find the path that speaks to them and resonates with them. But I do think it's important to have one. And I dare say if you didn't have a spiritual path, you wouldn't be as successful as you are today. I will make that assumption. In your work, in your marriage, in your friendships, all your relationships. It honestly, it sounds like a cliche, your spiritual life, even. It's like the reason, but it's just got a bad rap. You know, you like 100% can have a spiritual life and be successful. I wouldn't be here if I didn't have one. There's no way we're going to escape suffering. Even if we grow up with wealth and privilege, our challenges and our suffering is going to come to us in a different way. Radical acceptance is just accepting that
And the music, like the dramatic music, like she's saying, like as if she's not just producing a word salad of like randomly generated words. ChatGPT would do a better job at it than her.
what is
And this
happening
music, like it's so profound what she's saying.
to you is meant to happen to you, and that you're going to be okay. Whatever's happening to me that might be uncomfortable is obviously meant to happen to me to teach me a lesson. And if I don't learn that lesson at that point, it's going to come up again.
I believe that travel is one of the greatest.
Bitch, go to a survivor in Gaza who's just got their house bombed, who's just lost an arm and a leg from bombing or debris or whatever, who has to feed kids, has no roof over their head, lives in a war zone, and tell them, you're not aware enough. You're focusing too much on material things like food and shelter. You need to build your consciousness so that you can live in harmony with the universe, and the universe shall provide. Now come to my Kabbalah lesson. Ja pierdolę.
Gifts that we've ever been given. And Chase Sapphire Reserve has been my gateway to the world's most captivating destinations. When I use my Chase Sapphire Reserve card, I get 8 times points on all the purchases I make.
Hi,
through Chase
Ash
Travel.
$sign.
And even access to one-of-a-kind experiences like music festivals and sports events.
Right,
And
right.
that's not even mentioning how the card gets me into the Sapphire Lounge.
But rich people, when you tell them that we have to tax them higher, right?
By the club at select airports nationwide. Travel is more rewarding with
Eat their
Chase
rich.
Sapphire Reserve.
Eat their rich.
Trust me. Discover more at chase.com
Right,
/Sapphire Reserve.
It's not like, but I've been working so hard my entire life on all these material things that I earn, all these millions and millions of dollars, my private jets, my 6 villas, and my vineyard in south of France. And how dare you tax me higher? It means I'm going to have to sell one of my private jets and give away one of my villas. What am I gonna do on a holiday? Maybe if you gave one of your villas to starving children, there would be less starving children in the world.
Let's talk about how your spiritual life has impacted your different roles, because you played so many roles in life. And let's start with artist, because that's what the majority of our viewers and our audience will connect with you on. Your spiritual life has directly impacted your art. When did you feel it was first introduced to your art? How was it introduced? How would you use it to inspire your art?
About a year after I started studying, I made my Ray of Light album. And that is 100% influenced by my study, my
Wow.
spiritual practice. Like a door opened for me. And I suddenly, and maybe I was spiritual without knowing it, unconsciously.
Oh,
But
we all
and
are.
some things happened. I mean, often things would happen where I would have visions or I would get ideas and I would manifest them. And if you're too busy to sit for a moment and think, wow, that's so amazing what just happened, I channeled that. Like, you don't actually know that you're tapping into another dimension until you start paying attention to the idea that there is more to life than you and I sitting in this room on a chair. Like, if you believe in energy and you believe in universal laws and you believe in quantum physics, like, the possibilities are endless. And miracles, the idea of miracles is not a foreign concept. It's not a lucky strike, you know what I mean? It definitely affected my work. I became conscious of the fact that I am channeling light. That's what I'm doing. I don't own it. It's not mine. I am a vessel for it. I'm a vessel for this light, which in turn, my goal is to share.
Everyone, millions and millions of dollars and a 40-year-old fame have made you a vessel for light. If you become a famous singer, if you become a millionaire, a billionaire, and you can sit around and do fuck all day, you too can channel light. Just come and study Kabbalah with Madonna.
Share with other people. Now I can do that through my work. I can do that through my music. I can do that through my relationships with people. I can do that as a friend. I can do that as a mother, as a parent. So you realize that it informs every part of your life. But the one really important thing, well, one of the many important things that my teacher taught me was that I am not the owner of my talent. I am the manager. As long as you keep that consciousness and you're aware, like, people who run to say, I did that. That was my idea. I mean, you created an opportunity for yourself by allowing yourself to be a vessel for this, call it what you like, magic. I think it's magic. I think when you channel artistic ideas and you have creative visions, it's magic. And when you think
Madonna sits around in her mansion all day and does magic. I just imagine, like, you know, the way that all the paparazzis. Madonna is a level 68 necromancer. But I just imagine, like, all the paparazzis that always want to look in through her window. And imagine, like, one time they, like, looking at night, and she sits in like a black gown around the table with a circle of friends, and there's a dead body, and she's just like la 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 la, you know, and then the dead sits up and starts speaking with their eyes glowing green, and they're just talking about how they just want to eat their last McDonald's, but Madonna is telling them, stop focusing on the material things. That's why you're a corpse now. If you were only more aware.
Overthink it, or you start thinking about how much of that you own, you stop it. That's why I would say, this is my observation, that a lot of people have these great kind of meteoric careers, and they rise up and they take the world by storm, and they influence the masses, and then they just, something happens, and they can't handle the light, and they're not even aware of it. And it in a way, they fly too close to the light, and it burns them. Yeah.
That's that. I mean,
And I
that's
would say that's really true about many of my peers that I had. I was lucky enough to know them, whether that's Prince or Michael Jackson or Jean-Michel Basquiat, the painter. Like these are like people who.
She loves name dropping. Madonna is a name dropper. Before as well, the way she just casually slips a name into a conversation. First, she was talking about the books she was reading, and she started like to put like, I don't remember, she mentioned someone like a philosopher or someone, like, just to elevate what an intellectual that she is, what kind of books she's reading, what a great, well-read woman that she is. And now she's like, you know, I knew Michael Jackson, but you know, all the material things, and I had this opportunity, but I'm not the owner of my talent. Ugh.
Who just were
channeling light.
channeling.
Get a life.
But I also don't think they understood like the concept of their what they were channeling, and that, you know, there has to be some kind of restriction, there has to be some kind of filament, there has to be, you know, like people like to take drugs, right? Why? Because it makes they're actually channeling light with their, you know.
Did Madonna just say that if you take drugs, you too can channel lights? Is that how she does it? Is she just on drugs all the time? I mean, when I was on drugs all the time, I thought I was channeling light. Maybe that's what it is.
Tripping on acid, but it's light with no restriction, and then that's what kills you or burns you out.
That was never your path to the light.
Oh no,
Yeah.
no. Thank God.
That's why people take drugs. They fly close to the light. But that was never your part, no? No. Me? Never.
Because everybody was
What kept you
doing
away
it around
from it
me.
when everyone else was
Right.
doing it?
The universe, God. Honestly, people ask me that all the time because I grew up, when I came to New York, when I was broke, and I had no friends, nowhere to live, nothing really. What protected me from, you know, I was held up at gunpoint, I was robbed, like I was raped, like all these horrendous things happened to me, but I just feel like I've always had a guardian angel. It took me a minute to figure out that how blessed I was, and that the universe was protecting me. And
You were held at gunpoint, you got raped, and you're very lucky. Do you see the cognitive dissonance of what she's saying? How? No.
I'm looking out for me.
Was that a realization that came after? Because I mean, when you're
Came
talking,
after what?
well, when you talk about the events of, I mean, getting raped, being held at gunpoint, these are extremely traumatic, stressful. I mean, the
Yeah.
most extreme, tragic events people could go through in their life.
Mm-hmm.
It's and how she smiles. Yeah. I'm normal too. It happened to me. It's Christianity. Girl, I'm sorry to tell you, you're a Catholic.
The realization you're sharing today, how long?
I mean,
talk to me about the journey.
not again. Let me just clarify. Not to diminish what happened to her. It's horrible. I heard the story before. It should have never happened. It's very traumatic. But it's just like the way that people who experience so much trauma twist their suffering and attach meaning to it in such a way that the pain becomes glorified in their mind. Like, I know that your mind can only take so much before it breaks and snaps, and it is a coping mechanism. It was a coping mechanism for me. So like, I have sympathy, and I understand why these people go down these rabbit holes. But I'm just afraid that giving someone like this a platform like that, like, because she's so famous, she's so well known, millions of people are going to see this interview, and then they're going to buy into this language of spirituality, this new Christian revival that's happening. People who are too damaged by Christianity are now buying into this other esoteric bullshit, and it's bringing them to the same equation. You end up with the same thought patterns, with the same ideology, with the same way to construe the world, and it's absolutely unhealthy. Like, when can we just agree, okay, something horrible happened, and it is horrible, and we can cry about it, and we can work through it on therapy, but it doesn't have to have a universal divine impact. It can just be a horrible thing that happened, and the most horrible things in life are horrible because they're stupid, because they should have never happened, because suffering means nothing. Suffering is just suffering. And let it just be that. Some people use their power, their suffering to drive them, and and that's great. But most of the time in psychology we learn that these people end up derailing themselves down the line. They either end up with other mental health issues, burnout or depression or whatever. You know, like, talking about it, talking through it, getting through therapy, that's the way to do it. But assigning some sort of divine purpose to something tragic that happened to you, I feel like it can make it worse. You will feel better in the short term, but the long term, it's going to make it so much worse. And especially if you're a person with so much power and influence like Madonna.
Journey of having that experience and then getting to the realization you just mentioned, because I'm assuming it's not immediate. And
No.
And what is, so walk us through that
Well,
arc.
first, there's just my determination that I think I had such an unhappy childhood that whatever happened to me in New York City, I was like, whatever happens to me is better than what my life was. So I'm sticking around. I'm not going back. But you see, the worst things that happen to you are the best things that happen to you, because if my childhood hadn't been what it had been, if I hadn't lost my mother, if I hadn't had all of these challenges as a child, I would have thought of my home as a place of comfort, and I would have gone back. But I didn't, so that's what kept going. And then, you know, there are challenges in my career. Even though I was very successful, I went through many periods of time where the press was beating up on me. I was demonized. What kept me going? I don't know. Like I said, guardian angels. But again, I wasn't conscious of it until I was pregnant. Then I started to see, like, everything started to, like, come into focus for me. But it's not. I make it sound like it's an easy thing. Like, studying, like, the more you know, the harder everything is. And the more enlightened you try to become, the more conscious you try to become, the more tests you have, the more, you know, it's like,
this is it, because you start to glorify your own suffering. So you try to seek out more problematic situations for yourself to suffer even more, and you torture yourself, and it never ends, and you keep torturing yourself because your fucking self-torture, self-harm becomes your way of redeeming yourself. But it doesn't work like that. You don't have to suffer. You can choose to stop suffering.
why? Like the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. And the more you aspire to be conscious, the more you feel like everyone's trying to drag you down and take you out of it and convince you that it's not true, or, you know, the tests.
Yeah.
And, you know, life is a test, let's face it.
Yeah. I was thinking about, as you were saying that a bit earlier, of managing that balance between recognizing you are a manager of the light and you are not the light itself. I was thinking of this story about Marcus Aurelius, where he was followed around the Roman town square by an assistant, and the assistant's only job was to whisper in his ear, "You're just a man. You're just a man." Because people would praise him and people would shower him with accolades and compliments, and the assistant would remind him, and it said that that was done so that he could always remain grounded. I can imagine for you to not fall into the trap of believing you're the light is extremely difficult when you're one of the best-selling artists of all time, when you, like you said, you name the company, there's only the Beatles, yourself, Michael Jackson, that sit in this esteemed group of individuals who've achieved incredible things. How did you hold on to that beautiful belief that you're not the light and you're a manager of the light when anyone else could easily believe they were?
By continuing to have a spiritual practice, a spiritual life, by continuing to study, like, always pulls you back to center.
Were you able to keep it up when you were like on tour or when you were building your album?
Absolutely.
Wow.
I drove everyone crazy. My manager's like, "Why can't we have shows on this night?" Or, "Why are you late?" Because I'm praying. Like, what, you know what I mean? Like, no.
Would you
People
pray
who are
before a
only
show?
focused on, absolutely, pray before every show, but people who are focused on making money are definitely not focused on spiritual life. You have to have your feet in both worlds. And I
You
say,
literally wouldn't do a show on a day because that was your study day.
Yeah. Or I would be late. Yeah. I get.
Have you sold tickets to these shows and then you didn't show up because you were praying? Is that what happened, Madonna? Did she get like a team of 200 plus people, set up an event, booked a stadium, sold thousands of tickets to a stadium, and then the day before she's like, "Guys, I got a call from God. I need to pray. I'm very sorry, but I can't make it." She's a grifter! Wow! Way to scam!
Get a lot of shit for being late.
Walk me through.
Honestly, it's really hard to balance being a parent, having work, having a spiritual life. You're constantly juggling. There's not a lot of time to rest. And if people don't recognize that, then they're just going to look at you in a very 1% like superficial way and go, "You're late." It's like, but you don't understand what I was doing before I became late.
I want to talk about how spirituality affected your role as a mother. Obviously, you said that.
But you just don't understand. I mean, having thousands of dollars and nannies and ability to do anything at any time, anywhere with anyone, it's so hard. It's so hard being on time.
Becoming a mother yourself is actually what even began that enlightenment. It kind of began that journey. It felt like a responsibility. It felt like a moment of change. How is...
Well, my mother died after giving birth to all my brothers and sisters. So literally, like the year after my youngest sister was born, my mother died. So I always equated motherhood with death. So, and I also equated it with, I could see she was not happy. I could see she wasn't living the life she wanted to live. I equated it with death, or I equated it with no freedom, or I equated it with no life except taking care of other people. And so when I came to New York and I started my career, I was like, no, this is not for me. I don't want to be a mother. I don't want that. I wasn't saying it out loud, but I was thinking that. Like, Why would I give all of this up? I worked so hard for it. Well, one day I found that I was pregnant, and I had been running away from it for so long. And I wouldn't say I was in a stable relationship, but I loved her father. So I wasn't really thinking it through, but I was like, okay, this happened to me, so it's meant to happen to me. So, but honestly, what the hell am I going to teach my daughter? Like, how am I going to guide her? I've just been living this, completely selfish life, really, that, turned out good in many ways, but in reality, I was doing everything for my own self. And I also kind of thought, well, okay, I'm pregnant, so I'm going to be a mother, so I'll figure it out. I'll work it out. But honestly, I was scared shitless. And I wasn't in a traditional relationship. And once again, like, this is the story of my life. I keep finding myself in unconventional or untraditional or unusual or unfamiliar places, and I have to keep adjusting. And I would say that is also the reason that I am still here and still going and have the strength to fight things or to survive. Because being too comfortable in life, I would say, is the downfall of a lot of people who started off taking chances, taking risks.
Is that something success does to you, do you think, where in the beginning you take risks and you get out?
I feel like that happens to other people, not me. I think I've always felt like an outsider in life. I felt like an outsider growing up in Michigan. I felt like an outsider when I came to New York. I felt like an outsider when I moved to LA and had my Hollywood life. I always felt like I did when I was in high school. I don't fit in. And not fitting in is what saves you. And that, studying Kabbalah, nobody else was interested in it, not my friend group. And if I would speak about it to people, they'd be like, oh, that's really interesting. Having a spiritual life isn't necessarily going to make you popular. But if you're a conscious person searching for truth, then it's going to be interesting. Like, I'm interested in your spiritual path, your spiritual life. I want to know what you do, what it does for you. Mm-hmm. I want to know how you do it, because I'm curious. And curiosity and being an outsider, and those are the things that actually save you, even though it's not supported in our society. Like, to think outside the box, to take the road less traveled by, to not be so concerned with approval, public approval. And now we live in a world where everyone follows algorithms, and algorithms are the opposite of taking
Now Madonna has a problem with you, by the way.
chances. They're the opposite of being unique. They're the opposite of spiritual life. They're the opposite of consciousness. That's why artificial intelligence cannot duplicate consciousness. It can duplicate doing things, following formulas, but it can't duplicate consciousness. So now, have we gotten really off the subject?
I love it though. It's great. it's great to be in your stream of consciousness, and on that point I'll get back. But I often get asked the question right now when I'm on panels of, do I ever believe that AI will have a soul? And my response is always, I just hope that the people who are building AI have a soul, because ultimately it's becoming a reflection of whatever's inside of us. But I digress. Going back to how. Go on. You were going to say something.
No, you're right. Yep, the people who make it, but are they?
Yeah, that's the most important part.
That's the scariest part.
Yeah, the intention and the purity.
Intention and consciousness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just repeat that like a mantra. Consciousness is everything. Consciousness is everything. But a lot of people don't even know what that is.
When you became a mom and you're trying to teach your children about, I guess, I'm assuming you wanted to pass some of these teachings on.
Yeah. I mean, they grew up learning it and studying or listening to me study with my teachers or listening to other people. And they would bounce back and forth between thinking it was silly or something weird that mom does, but I see that it has impacted all of them.
What makes you see that? What?
Because they study. Not all of them, but I feel like my children who have
Okay,
a
I'm
spiritual
leaving
life
it.
are
Fuck it.
happier than the ones who do not.
But obviously, they could start at any time. It could happen.
I'm not, there's no coercion in spirituality.
Yeah.
It's like if you
choice.
either it speaks to you or it doesn't.
Yeah, I remember my dad was trying to get us to do things for so long, and I rejected it so hard because
Yes, well, that's the other thing.
wasn't the perfect
Children
one.
always reject their
Totally,
their
yeah.
parents, the path they follow, their belief systems. They think it's stupid, and then they come back around
Totally.
a little bit.
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that famous quote that says, "The day you realize your parents were right, your kids are telling you that you're wrong," and I think it's an often
Yeah.
common experience that people have.
Yeah.
How did Kabbalah impact your
My parents were not right.
and your spiritual practice impact your role as a daughter? Because, like you said, you lost your mother when you.
They still aren't. My mom was afraid to go to city centre London on account of being aborted by an immigrant. I don't think she'll ever be right.
were 5.
To a certain extent, I resented my father growing up because I felt like he wasn't present for us emotionally. He did have a lot of responsibilities, and he's a deeply Catholic person, but I felt like he followed his spiritual path, or he followed Catholicism because that's how he was raised. That's how it was done. When I was growing up, if I wanted to ask a question about why do we do this? Why are we genuflecting? Why are we receiving the body and blood of Christ? My father didn't have an answer. He'd just say, that's what is written. And what drew me to Kabbalah was that I could ask questions and there were answers. And questions were invited, which is the opposite of how I was brought up. So I looked at my father as kind of like a religious robot, you know what I mean? Not that he's not a good person, but I didn't want to be a robot. And especially having a spiritual life, I started to see my father as a human being and see that he was a human that made mistakes and that he did the best with what he was taught, what he was given. When those cylinders start clicking in your head, you start to have a lot more compassion, not just for your parents, but for all people who don't see life the way you see it, that you don't agree with. It brought me to a place where I could have more compassion for him.
And this is the very thing that Zizek was talking about. Was he talking about it on the Jordan Peterson debate that we watched? But Zizek often loves to talk about this thing that a lot of people say, that a lot of people believe that the enemy is only our enemy because we haven't heard his story. And he has this lovely anecdote. So you want to tell me that Adolf Hitler was evil because we haven't heard his story? I'm sorry, but I haven't read Mein Kampf. But I have a feeling that if I read Mein Kampf, I would hate him even more. Some people are evil. For just plain and simple. Not because they're misunderstood. Not because something happened to them. Evil exists.
I mean, that seems like a really big gift
Yeah.
to have that understanding. And I could agree. I think spiritual context creates so much compassion when you are able to zoom out and look at someone's life. Like I remember the moment I really had compassion for my dad was when I visited the home he grew up in, which was this room. I mean, I can't even compare it to this. His home was like probably just from here to here, like his entire home. And they shared a bathroom with 20, 30 other
Neighbors.
families.
Yeah.
And we went outside. I was 9 years old. We're in India, and there's cockroaches
Where?
around us in Pune. And there's cockroaches around his home. There's
Yeah.
bats in the, and it's just like, and inside. And I was 9 years old, and I couldn't believe that, that's where my dad grew up. And it was almost like something clicked where I was like, I unless I saw that, I wouldn't have had that
Okay.
experience
That's pretty cool.
because it was always easier to assume that their life.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like I say to my kids all the time, like, you're judging me by the chapter you arrived in. Like, this is not how my life has been. And it's really hard for kids to see that.
Yeah. Yeah. Going there was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me because it's what you're saying. I was able to go to a previous chapter in someone's life. And even though my childhood, we weren't well to do or we didn't have anything, but we didn't have a lot. Going to see that, I was like, oh gosh, my life is a million times better than this. And having that context was huge for me. I want to hear about how you were able to apply these principles in the difficulty of the big things you're talking about, because whether it's reconnecting with our parents, whether it's recovering from being raped, whether it's dealing with these challenges you've dealt with, as you said, it doesn't happen overnight. It's not easy. It is the level of study and work. But talk to me about the emotional journey of shifting from a victim to whatever you would call this on the other side, because it would be very natural for anyone to feel that way. I want to hear about the emotional journey and the spiritual journey you went on. What were some of the steps or stages that you saw that if anyone who's listening or watching can recognize and potentially
Well,
relate
the
to?
first thing is you're suffering all the time. If you don't have a spiritual life, like you're just suffering all the time. And you really think that whatever's happening to you is like something that's never going to end. And you drew the wrong card. You know
That's
what
how
I mean?
you feel, yeah.
That's how I used to think. And even now, since I've been studying, there's been times where I've been really challenged and really suffered in certain situations. And if I didn't have a spiritual life, I don't know how I wanted, there were moments in my life where I wanted to cut my arms off. I actually contemplated suicide. And that probably sounds really weird coming from me because I'm not emo, you know what I mean? But I was like, I can't take this pain anymore. But as soon as you understand that what's happening to you is a challenge that you are karmically meant to experience and learn from and evolve to a higher level of consciousness, then you can look at that event, that experience as
Oh
a
my God, I
lesson
fucking hate
and
it.
not punishment.
What pain at the time pushed you to that place of potentially wanting to take your own life?
I mean, I'm not in the blame game. That's the thing. I used to be that way. And I used to always want to seek revenge. If somebody did me wrong. Or I would pronounce loudly, oh, well, they'll get their own karma, well, whatever, you know what I mean? And even knowing about karma doesn't mean you're a grown-up. It doesn't mean you're not being a victim. But I would say probably one of the most painful moments in my life where I honestly couldn't see the forest for the trees was when I went through a custody battle with my son. And even though my marriage didn't work out, I mean, a lot of people's marriages don't work out. They marry the wrong people. They're not aligned. They're not meant for each other. Someone trying to take my child away from me was like, they might as well just kill me. That's really how I was thinking. And I was on tour at the time, so I had to go on stage every night. I would just be lying on the floor of my dressing room, sobbing. I really thought it was the end of the world. I couldn't take it. I just couldn't take it. But thank God, I don't feel that way anymore. And I had to keep, studying, continuing my studies and continuing on my spiritual path, helped me to understand that, the enemy is within.
Talk to me about that.
Lots of people do lots of bad things and make a lot of bad choices or make choices that cause other people pain, suffering, or chaos or whatever. But at the end of the day, I needed to learn some lessons, and I can see that with the benefit of hindsight, but I couldn't see it at the time. And also, I was abandoned as a child by my own mother, and so losing a child, it was like life repeating itself. I couldn't accept it. And so it caused me a lot of suffering, and not being able to accept things causes all of us a lot of suffering. So yes, and now, I'm happy to say that I'm really good friends with my son. But I couldn't see it then. I really thought it was the end of the world. So,
I have a problem with this. So, she went through a custody battle. Okay, that's difficult. Then she goes on how her mom abandoned her, but didn't she say that her mom died? Is she sure she's over it? Because her mom died, I think, no? I mean, don't quote me on it. I think that they said it, no, before, that her mom was dead. And then she's like, how hard and difficult it was to fight the custody battle. But only now she has a good relationship with her son. Does that mean she blamed her son for the custody? But it sounds a bit like that. Madonna, are you okay, Madonna?
thank God I had a spiritual life.
Was the lesson radical acceptance?
Yeah, exactly. It took me a long time, actually, several years. Radical acceptance is just accepting that what is happening to you is meant to happen to you and that you're going to be okay.
Oh my God.
I mean, it's not an instant thing.
Again, go to a mother of 3 who's just got bombed in Gaza, lost an arm and a leg, is on the street without food, and her children are crying. What is happening to you was meant to happen to you. You're not conscious enough.
There's no such thing as an instant thing. There's no way we're going to escape suffering, even if we grow up with wealth and privilege and, we didn't grow up in a small room. Our challenges and our suffering is going to come to us in a different way. I can give you another example of radical acceptance, and that is, and this is something that my teacher shared with me about a year and a half ago. I was rehearsing for my tour, and I got a bacterial infection, and 1 minute I was alive and dancing around, and the next minute I was in the ICU unit of a hospital, and I woke up from being unconscious for 4 days. I got out of the hospital. They took me off of, the ventilator. I started to breathe on my own, and I had something. It's called sepsis, and it's like it can kill you.
Yeah, that's really bad. Yeah.
And everybody
Yeah, my
recovers at
grandma
a
died of
different
this.
rate. And so, I've always seen myself as Superwoman. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna kick this. I'm gonna be good. I'm getting back into rehearsals, and I had no strength. I had no energy. I couldn't get out of bed, and I didn't know when it was going to end. And I used to talk to my teacher all the time, and he's like, the sooner you accept what's happening to you and that you don't know when it's going to end, the sooner it's going to end. That made so much sense to me, and of course it did. But I mean, I've heard some people never recover from it completely, never recover and have their full health again. So again, it's the same idea, same concept. If you sit around feeling sorry for yourself, woe is me, or poor me, or this is I don't accept it, I will not accept it. Well, then you're just going to be swimming in suffering.
You're reminding me of something I read in it's not a spiritual book, but it has a similar message. It's called Culture Code by Daniel Coyle. And he talks in this book about how when soldiers were out at war, a lot of them wanted to believe they'd be back by Christmas. And there were the others that accepted that they had no idea when they were going to get home. And he talks about how that those who accepted that they had no idea when they were going to get home were actually happier and were able to endure what they were going through a lot easier than those who hoped they'd get back on Christmas and then didn't.
Yes, it's like the Viktor Frankl book.
Yes,
Same
Man's Search
concept.
for Meaning. Yeah, exactly. And it's when I hear it from those really extreme scenarios, you're like, wow, if Viktor Frankl can think that, in the experience that he had, you go, okay, well, and Edith Eger with The Gift, and you go, wow, if you can have that experience there, then then there must be some truth to that. Because how could you accept that when you were going through the worst?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really tough. Going back to your experience of that, what would you say, because you mentioned karma there and this idea of choices we make and lessons we need to learn, and karma almost being this experience of learning the lessons. How do you see karma? How do you define karma from your learnings and studies? And let's start there, and then I'll ask the second question after that.
My personal understanding is that our souls choose the lives that we are born into, the circumstances we are born into, that our souls are perfect, but then we're born into a life which is one challenge after the next, and that our journey is to navigate and to see that each challenge that happens to us is our karmic destiny. It's energy. It's the law of, it's quantum physics. It's cause and effect.
Again, quantum physics mentioned. Has a physicist evaluated your theory, Madonna?
Whatever's happening to me that might be uncomfortable is obviously meant to happen to me to teach me a lesson. And if I don't learn that lesson at that point, it's gonna come up again and again and again until I learn it and accept that it's a lesson, not a punishment. So that's how you get out of victim mentality also.
What was the lesson that kept repeating for you and took you a bit longer than you would have liked to learn? What was the one that kept showing up?
Betrayal or abandonment. Sometimes they go hand in hand. But it really kept me, I saw a lot of people, or I felt and experienced that I was constantly being either abandoned or betrayed. So that kept me in a state sometimes, often, feeling sorry for myself, stuck in a place of blaming others and not taking responsibilities for, well, how did I bring this upon myself? Or why, asking the question, well, why is this happening to me over and over again? Obviously, I need to learn something. I think everybody, if they think about it, what is the thing that always comes back to you? Or for everybody, it's something different, obviously. I think the abandonment thing was the greatest lesson that it could teach me, that I could stop being destroyed by it or paralyzed by it, was to think of all, how am I not showing up for other people? How am I abandoning other people?
How am I abandoning myself?
How long have I been not listening to myself, my inner truth?
Jay, stop telling her the cheat sheet. Maybe she's abandoning other people. Maybe she's not abandoning herself. She's fucking Madonna. Stop giving her ideas.
With my inner voice, yes. And we all say goodbye to our inner selves at some point or another until something wakes us up. Push has to come to shove for everybody. There's just no way to escape it. So that's something that, as a concept, that you have to get your head around. There's no running away from being tested. There's no running away from experiencing pain, suffering, whether it's physical or emotional. And that obviously that takes life experience and living and, going, okay, everything's going well for me. I'm so happy. Everything's great. Oh no, this is a failure. People are writing negative shit about me, or this relationship ended, or this person cheated on me, or this, all these things that happen to you, rejection, and then you go, no, I'm not happy. If you're going to go through life, being a slave to these, ups and downs, you're just going to be, I don't know how you can last, obviously. It's obvious to me. I don't know if it's obvious to you or anybody who's watching this, but I don't know how we can maintain our sanity And especially now, I mean, when people lived simpler lives and we didn't see what was going on in the world, and we weren't so connected like we are because of technology and the internet, whatever. It's hard not to get like anxious or start blaming or taking sides or feeling, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I loved what you said. This one line will stay with me for a long time. I really, really thought it was beautiful. You said, we all say goodbye to our inner selves at some point. And that really landed because that's why it feels like we're coming home to ourselves when you, and I think everyone who's listening or watching can, if they've started their spiritual journey, they've started their reconnection journey, they know what that feeling's like, where it's like, yeah, wait a minute, I left myself and now I'm coming back to myself.
Yes. I always say, what was I thinking before I was thinking?
Right.
I don't even know. So I was just thinking about myself. But ironically and paradoxically, when you're just thinking about yourself and consumed with yourself, you're actually not connected to yourself at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So how does it change now when you go through betrayal or you go through rejection or any of those things that you talked about? How do you process it differently now with your spiritual practices than you did before? What's the different experience you have of it?
Well, I spend less time feeling sorry for myself, being a victim, blaming, and more time thinking, okay, why did this happen to me? What's the lesson? I mean, I go to that sooner than I did before.
What's the difference between self-blame and accountability? Because I feel a lot of people fall into the trap of, now you don't go and blame other people, but you blame yourself and you go, oh, I messed up. I should have chosen right. I should have done this.
Okay, well, self-reflection and acknowledging and being accountable for your behavior is not the same as feeling guilty. That feeling guilty is just you're consumed with your ego.
Shaming yourself.
Yeah. So you're not going to get anywhere with that. That just stops any kind of growth from happening.
It's pretty amazing to say that you can speed up to that point of asking yourself that question of what can I learn from this? I mean, that's the ultimate question. And
yeah. And believe me, it's not something that stays with me all the time. It's like sometimes I forget and I'm like, oh, I'm doing this again. I'm doing it again. I'm falling back into a familiar pattern. Yeah. But if you don't know, then you're like, it's important to know, again, not beat up on yourself. Well, okay, I made a mistake. What can I learn from it? Swallow your pride. Tell your ego to shut up, basically.
You mentioned the word manifesting earlier and channeling and being a vessel. And I wanted to ask you, because manifesting becomes very popular in the world today as a concept. It's at least out there. People understand the word. Now, when people would look at your career, they would assume you've manifested incredible amounts of success for yourself.
Just tell them you drank adrenochrome. Honestly, just troll us. Madonna, troll us instead of giving us this garbage.
Incredible amounts of wins and all the rest of it. Talk to us about your process of manifestation. What does it actually look like?
If you're manifesting things and you're not conscious that it's a gift from the universe, from the light, from the creator, whatever you want to call it, if you're not aware of that and you're not conscious, then, okay, you invented something. Great. You created this thing that now is selling billions, but everything becomes finite when you're not manifesting with the consciousness that you are channeling something. You don't own it. So that's a big thing.
Interruption in this indoctrination session. I am thinking to utilize this space a little bit. And I don't know how to do it. Sorry. I didn't know how to do it. Sorry, my brain went foggy for a second. I didn't know what to put in here. I was a little bit hesitant between maybe a sprawling park area or more fountains and plazas and stuff. or cafes, but I'm thinking of maybe doing like a memorial garden and do something along the lines of the remembrance, the Garden of Remembrance in Cyberpunk, the one that commemorates the explosion of the Arasaka Tower, and that monument is inspired by the Jewish memorial in Berlin, like the like the concrete blocks in different heights all around and in like this kind of grid-like pattern. I think it could be interesting to put something like this here. So I'm gonna experiment a little bit with this.
That's the key part of it.
Yeah, sure.
So whatever
So if I have a successful show, if anything happens to me successfully, like is perceived as a success in the outside world, I just say, that's, how blessed am I? I manifested that with the help of God. I didn't do it on my own. I do nothing on my own.
Ugh.
And if you think you're manifesting on your own, and you're like an ostrich with your head in the sand, and there will be an end to whatever you're manifesting.
So if someone desires something, they've got to recognize that it's not their hand, it's something that they're willing to become.
Well,
and recognize.
it requires work to be conscious. It requires work to see that you're channeling something and being a vessel for something. So you do have your part in it, but you're not on your own. That's the point.
And a lot of us feel like, I'm going to do this. When I do this, I'll get this. And when I get this, then I will be this
Right,
person.
but that's desire for selfish reasons.
Yeah.
Manifesting success is whenever you want something for the sake of sharing. When you want something just for yourself, like I'll be happy when I have 10 Bugattis and a mansion in every major city, and I'm the brand ambassador of Louis Vuitton. No offense to Louis Vuitton, just throwing that out there. But you know what I mean? Like those things like really make people happy. But it's short-lived. And sooner or later, everybody comes to that realization anyways. It's just whether it's sooner or later. And these are the things, I talk about this in our studies. Let's get back to why I'm here. And my intention is to share my spiritual life with people. We talk about, in our studies, we talk about manifesting, and we talk about being a channel. And, I share in one of the studies, I talk about writing my first song, for example, and how I taught myself how to play the drums. And then my boyfriend at the time was in a band, and he taught me how to play guitar, like just simple chords. And when nobody was around, I would start playing with all the instruments and start without thinking, without any like, I'm going to be this or I'm going to be that. I just sat down and wrote a song for the first time. And I was very conscious at that moment after it happened. Where did that come from?
Hey,
How did that happen? I didn't grow up with musicians. I didn't grow up with songwriters. I didn't have a goal to be that. Where did it come from? And so when you start like opening your eyes to that, how did that happen? Where did that come from? Then you see the possibilities, you see the magic of the universe of life. And you see that, that was a gift. Some angel showed up in my room, and, what am I going to do with that gift? So these moments happen to you throughout life. They happen to everybody, whether you're saving someone's life or you have this incredible idea for some life-saving invention. You know what I mean? We're all blessed with those moments, and it's really the important thing is to acknowledge where that came from. That's really manifesting.
I love that. That's my favorite.
So it's like you can have everything you want. You just have to make sure that you don't say that it's you who made it. So like God can give you anything as long as you give him the credit. Again, what kind of jealous kind of God is he? Like what's happening here, Madonna? What's happening here?
Explanation.
Like is God just really hell bent on copyright issues?
The manifestation I've ever heard. Truly, it really is, because I think what often happens in substitute of what you said is we have an idea and then we try and manufacture that set of inputs and outputs again to get that again. And then it doesn't work. And then we're confused because like, wait a minute, last time I did this and did this and did this, then I got this, and now I'm trying to do it again. And then you get stuck because now you think you can't do it. But the reality is that's just a very functional way of looking at something that's far beyond input, output, and manufacturing. You can't manufacture to manifest. It doesn't make sense.
Nope.
Yeah, I really, really like that. I really, really appreciate that definition. And I think that's going to help a lot of people, because I think the way it's being talked about right now is just be clear about your goals and be really clear about what you
And make sure that you credit God.
want. And
I mean, that's important too. Say out loud what you want out of life. That is important. But you're in a partnership. That's really what's important to remember.
yeah,
And we become our environments as well. So we want to surround ourselves with people with like-minded individuals. And if you are around people who also are attaining to reach a higher level of consciousness, or want to know the deeper meanings of life, or want to look inward and figure out what their karmic destiny is, or even take into consideration
This
the
is
idea
starting to
of
look kinda
karma.
cool.
I mean, you need that also, because if you don't have that support system, then you can also fall back into the trap of recreating formulas that work, or trying to capture some magical moment and make it magic again. And that's just our ego taking over and telling us, I did that.
I did that. I can do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can't.
No.
One of my favorite ways of thinking about it, especially when you said it's a partnership, is when we look at the universe, everything's always serving. So the sun's providing light and heat. Water is obviously giving us life, oxygen exists. Trees are giving us shade and fruits and flowers. And so in order to really be in partnership with the universe, one has to want to serve, because everything is designed to serve and give. And everything's designed to give and serve and provide. And so when we're not serving, we're actually acting against the universe.
Yeah.
Because everything in the universe is designed simply to give. We're wired for generosity, but educated for greed.
Mosquitoes. That's all I'm gonna say. Mosquitoes.
And when that juxtaposition comes up against itself, it just creates friction. It's like we all feel better when we do something for someone else.
Absolutely.
We all feel more joy when you take care of someone in need, more than if you did it for yourself. And the science and the research backs it up as well. This isn't some woo-woo spiritual idea.
No.
It very much is a woo-woo spiritual idea. Don't buy it.
Absolutely the truth.
But it's amazing how our conditioning and education is so the opposite, that we all believe that.
Every man for himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the statement.
No.
How much
That's mostly
unconditioning does it
America.
take for us to lose the every man for himself mindset? What does that look like in your spiritual practice and journey, especially?
And not fall back into that trap, you mean? To continue to have a spiritual life, spiritual practice, to study,
I love how simple
to
it is.
stop whether every day, once a week. If people don't have some kind of ritualistic moment in their life, like I said, whether it's every day or a few times a week, that what's going to stop you? You know what I mean? You have to have that moment where you're thinking about what you've done, thinking about what you'd like to do, thinking about what, have I capitalized on the opportunities that have come my way, not monetarily, spiritually. Like, what did I do to help someone? What have I done for others? That's really the only way you can be successful in life.
What were you trying to channel when you were creating in your music, and what were you trying to do to help people? What was...
Well, in the beginning, I just wanted to be somebody.
Right.
I just wanted to be somebody. Like, I wanted to have a voice. I wanted to make a difference in the world, but I wasn't clear about what that meant. And now I'm clear about what it means.
What is it? What does it mean today?
That everything I say has weight and gravity, and that words are powerful and actions are powerful. And I always ask myself, like, why am I doing this? Why do I want to, why is this song important to me? Why is this performance important to me?
Don't you remember, Madonna, you mentioned it like 3 paragraphs ago? You said Bugattis.
Why is this conversation we're having right now important to me? That's really the difference. It's like having intention and consciousness. We're really like, I'm repeating myself over and over again. I can't think of other words that capture that, but self-awareness doesn't really do it, because self-awareness kind of implies like selfishness. You know what I mean? A day at the spa. Not that that's not something to be enjoyed. I could use a day at the spa. You could use a day in the spa,
yeah.
Sure. My roof has been leaking for a month. Yeah. I want to go to the spa. That's okay. But that's not going to bring me lasting happiness.
Well, I think that's the reality of it, right? Like, when you look at your experience, there's this... Everyone's experience is this paradox where it's like you have the highest highs, the lowest lows, you have...
So there was something, just to bring it back to Cities Skylines, there was something I wanted to experiment with. Namely, I like this. I wish that we had this statue in a much smaller version, but I would use it in a slightly different way. So hear me out. Let me just put this in. This is a static ploppable version of the statue. And I want to see if I was gonna just do... Never mind. Because I wanted to see like him holding the globe. Would I be able to just have like the globe sticking out? But maybe not. And if I were to tilt him, then his fingers would be popping up. Never mind. I wanted to be creative.
A life that, of course, you need everyday self-care, but there's also what is lasting happiness and these bigger questions. We all live in this world, but we're not of this world. It's almost like everything that it makes more sense to recognize it's both and as opposed to either or.
Well, you have to live in the paradox.
Yeah.
It's like the greatest amount of light is where there's darkness, and you can reveal the most amount of light. When you're in a dark room, you turn on the light. When you're in a room that's already light, there's no effort made. So should we look for darkness? You know what I mean? Should we? But no, but when we're in that space where we're feeling dark, where we're feeling an absence of light, an absence of hope, an absence of inspiration, of vision, then you have to, those are the moments, the challenging moments where you have to say to yourself, this is my opportunity to bring light to a dark place. You know, spiritual wisdom is not helpful when everything's going your way. It's helpful when you're challenged. And when you're happy, it's helpful to remember that at any given time, in any moment, it could be gone. So don't take it for granted. Have humility, be grateful when things are going your way. And when you're being tested, also be grateful. That's a hard one. That was a hard one for me. It still is. But I'm glad that I know what I know.
One of the key aspects of this beautiful study series that you've created is, we've talked about some of the themes today. We've talked about karma, there's manifestation, there's desire, there's all of these themes that exist. And one of the big ones that really stood out to me was forgiveness. Because, you know, when I listened to you today, and I even watched the studies that you created that I'm hoping our audience will go and watch and appreciate and learn from as well, you've conquered and continue to try to conquer some really difficult emotions, like really, really difficult things. And I feel like forgiveness for us in the world today is probably one of the hardest things for us, whether we've been betrayed, whether we've been lied to, whether we've been exploited, whether we've been taken advantage of. And we always hear the age-old phrase of forgiveness is for you, it's not for them. And you hear these things, but it's...
Wait, who says that?
It's common, like, verbiage that exists in the world, at least, of this idea that, you know, don't hold on to grudges. It's,
well, you shouldn't. We shouldn't. And it is ultimately liberating for us to forgive. But obviously, the world benefits from our empathy, our ability to forgive.
Talk to us about that conditioning. And then
Well, I'm a fighter. You know, if somebody messes with me, they're going to get it. That's
and
not.
you've always been like that.
Yes. But, you know, when things happen to you and there's not a tangible enemy that you can, like, put your finger on, like, what are you going to do? You have to lean into radical acceptance. But, you know, there are things, you know, there are things that have happened to me in my life that I just thought, I will never forgive this person. I will never. Now, I don't want to have those feelings anymore because they're really, it's a prison and it's poison to not be able to forgive and to live in a state of like holding a grudge or hating someone or wanting them to suffer. It's like a kind of poison. It's like a kind of cancer. And that's why it's important to find a way to forgive even people that you perceive as your biggest enemies. For a really long time, it was my brother who died recently. Because I think the hardest ones are the people that you feel like you're the closest to. They're your greatest ally, and they turn on you. The people that hurt you the most are the people that you love the most. And when life doesn't go the way that you expected it to go, that you suddenly, that this pain is unbearable, and that you think what's going to save you is to think vengeful thoughts or to never forgive. Like that's going to give you some kind of power, magical power. It doesn't. It just weighs you down and eats away at you and is poisonous. So having to forgive my brother, knowing that I had to forgive my brother was, you know, it's like your ego dances around it. Like, yeah, I'll get to it. I'll get to calling him up or talking to him.
Okay, I had fun listening to Madonna preach, but I'm getting really tired of her. Can we just switch over to the World of Warcraft midnight Q&A? Because I am tired of listening to the same shit. I've been listening to this esoteric bullshit for the past 10 years of my life. My trauma is fresh, and I want something different. Q&A. Yeah. Let's listen to them. Midnight Q&A.
Hello, we are live.
And see what's new in the World of Warcraft.
Welcome to the World of Warcraft Midnight Q&A. I'm Randy Jordan, and I go by Kyvax on the Warcraft community team. We recently asked WoW players on forums and social media sites to submit questions, and you delivered. So, we've got 3 leaders of the WoW development team here. Please introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Ian Hasikostas, Game Director on WoW.
Hi, my name is Paul Cubitt. I'm Associate Game Director on World of Warcraft, working on the Midnight expansion.
Hi, I'm Maria Hamilton. I'm the Design Director for WoW.
We got a lot of questions, and I want to get right to them. We're going to start with some housing questions. So, Cyglaive on the forums asked, it actually said, during a Gamescom interview, it was mentioned that Horde players would be able to use Alliance-style housing exteriors and vice versa. However, in a recent blog post, it was stated that the housing styles would be faction-locked. Can we get clarification on that?
Yes, there was a bit of confusion definitely around the Gamescom messaging there. As we just saw in the deep dive video, the neighborhoods ultimately are anchored in specific locations in the world.
Okay.
If you
Honestly,
are in the...
What I want a motherfucking blood elf house with motherfucking floating house, like in the sky, a floating tower. And I'm just gonna chill there, have picnics with my friends, and judge everyone passing by.
The Alliance neighborhood, you are on the outskirts of Stormwind in the Elwyn area. If you are in the Horde neighborhood, you're on the outskirts of Orgrimmar. While private neighborhoods can be cross-faction, you can have your guildmates, you can have your friends of the opposite faction move in, the general setting, the exterior houses there are going to reflect the location. The NPCs that are wandering around the neighborhood, again, are anchored in that place in the world. Maybe something that we revisit down the line, but for the time being, if you're in the Horde neighborhood, the home exteriors need to reflect the Horde aesthetic. Take that up with the Orgrimmar HOA if there's a concern.
Speaking of things wandering around, a player named
You are the
Hey on
Orgrimmar
the
HOA, by the
Spanish
way.
forums asked, I know there are plans for combat pets to appear in housing.
That was a bit
Are there also
gaslighty,
plans for
wasn't it?
hunter pets?
Yes, so pets are something in general that we're working towards. At release in Midnight, battle pets won't be available to be placed just yet. I think something that we need to solve to make that work on the engineering side is actually making sure that they can path and move comfortably around whatever configuration of objects you might happen to place in your home or in your yard. So we are planning on delivering
that sounds kinda
shortly
hard.
after launch. Alongside that, we do want to add the ability to place your mounts in your mount collection. If you want to, have them on a hitching post in your yard,
Oh,
that's something
that's
we'd love
cool.
to deliver as well. Hunter pets are probably trickier. Those are character specific, and housing is an account-wide system really tied to your warband. And so, pulling from specific characters' hunter pet stable would probably be much more challenging. I'll never say never, but that's not in the plans currently.
Decor. Bjorky on Reddit asked, how will the trading post housing items work? Let's say there's a chair on the trading post. Will we have to buy the chair multiple times if we want a set of 4 in our house? Will there be a 10-chair bundle for a set price? Or will the purchase give us infinite amount of chairs?
So this is something we spent a good amount of time thinking about. There's going to be lots of ways that you can get decor starting in 11.2.7 and then into Midnight through achievements, through crafting, through completing just the campaign of Midnight and so on. And we ran into a lot of the same questions that you asked, the person who asked this question.
Yes.
Yes, and for that reason, we're actually just not going to have them on the trading post. At least for the first few months, there should be plenty of other ways that you can start gathering decor for your house. And then you won't have to make that hard decision between, do I want this chair versus this cool mount or cool transmog?
Another question comes from Xanther on the forums. Xanther asked, how will outdoor housing plots work? If I want a certain plot and it's taken, do I have the option to try another instance?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Essentially, when you want to move house, you're just going to say, yep, it's time to move. It's all going to get packaged up for you. Paul likes to say that a mage comes along and puts it into an arcane ball for you. Don't know if that's actually,
That is what happens.
Oh, totally. Okay. And then you can go to wherever you'd like to deploy your house, and it just comes right back out of the bubble, set up exactly how you had it. So you can move around neighborhoods, you can move around different plots within a neighborhood. Yep, totally transportable.
Right on. Celia on the German WoW forums asked, will there be updates to the guild system in Midnight?
I think most of the updates we see to the guild system are going to be in the form of neighborhoods. We expect to see a lot of guilds, especially guilds who are playing a lot actively with one another, to build guild neighborhoods where you'll be able to live alongside one another. So instead of the
kinda cool.
typical ways you're interacting with one another in WoW, whether that's raid nights, Mythic Plus nights, PvP, whatever it is you choose to do, you might also just start running into one another in the morning when you go out to
That's
get the
really
paper.
cool.
So
We have
really
to
looking
start a
forward to
guild.
seeing guilds build stronger connections
A
based
Lunatic
on those guild
guild.
neighborhoods.
I think the other systemic trappings of the guild system are something that we know is definitely due for a refresh. Guilds obviously have been there since the beginning, and there's definitely room for improvement. Our focus for Midnight, though, really was on the housing integration side of it, and the rest of the system is something we hope to get back to in the near future.
A highly upvoted question on Reddit comes from Chilligok. Chilligok asked, will we ever get another texture update for older races? Especially compared to Earthen, the hairstyles are outdated now.
We do have a couple which are coming in Midnight as you complete the Amani campaign in Zulaman. You will be able to unlock some cool cosmetics for Darkspear trolls, some cool hairstyles, and actually skin colors as well. And so if you have any Darkspear trolls on your account, you play through the campaign, you'll be able to get some cool customizations. And this is one of the ways that we do try to approach this is as it's appropriate to the story, we'll look for cool ways that you can integrate cosmetics into your own character. That's not the only way that we might do this, though.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's something that we see as an issue to chip away at over time. We want to roll out extra customizations, hairstyles, you name it, for the existing races to continue to bring them up to parity with the very newest options. It's not something we're able to do all at once, but particularly where it makes sense and fits the story, we're excited to keep adding them. Our long-term goal is to get to a place where every race, whether brand new or one of the original ones, has roughly the same number of options.
So, as we just saw in the deep dive and going back to the Gamescom announcement, we have a system coming called Prey. And I have a couple of questions here about Prey. System of Cells on Reddit asked, will the Prey system make all mobs in the target zone more challenging, or only the Prey target plus world quests unique to that system?
Yeah, it will affect everything in the zone for you. So if you have chosen to go into the zone chasing a nightmare mode Prey, everything is going to be much harder for you. It's based on an aura that's put on you, sort of like it's almost like an affliction in a way, or a torment. And as you move through that zone, it's going to be harder.
And the player in Prey is on their own?
They are when they finally wear down that boss, if it's in one of the harder modes. Then you need to go mano a mano. If it's in the normal mode, then the rest of the players in the vicinity can help you out.
Gotcha. The WoW creator Fandy asked, is the Prey system planned to be a part of the world row in vaults?
Yeah, in one way or another. You know, as we build our expansion, one of the last things that comes in is specifics on rewards. So we don't have the specific details now, but when we do look at Prey, we look at it as similar in difficulty and sort of player activity to the types of things that you do in Delves. And Delves will pick up that bottom row of the world row in the Great Vault as well. So we do expect if you're running Prey, you're going to see better rewards in that row in one way or another.
Good. I want to get to one of the most highly upvoted questions we saw across all channels.
It's such a
This is from Weird Dandom Ally on Reddit. And that goes, any plans to rejuvenate the glyph system? All classes could take advantage of it for class visual customizations like warlocks have with their pets and druids with their forms.
Yeah, so there isn't a glyph overhaul planned for Midnight at launch in particular, but the general question of more customization for spell visuals, transforms, things along those lines, that's one that we're also very excited about and always looking to offer more customization, more cosmetic self-expression where possible. And the glyph system is a great vehicle for this. It's not the only vehicle, but where it makes sense, that's definitely one of the avenues we would use.
Speaking of highly upvoted questions, we got a lot from the PvP community.
That's cool. I wonder how
want to
it's
ask
going
a
to
few
work.
of those.
To be honest,
starting
like
with
the whole spells visual and pet visual thingy is not something I've explored in recent times too much. I just remember at a certain stage I did like a warlock quest that turned one of my fire spells into Fellfire, so they became green. So I wonder if this is along the lines something that they're talking about.
Cup on Reddit, the question is, do you have any plans on making PvP less daunting for new players?
We absolutely do, yeah. We're really excited to introduce a new feature called Training Grounds. This is a feature where players can enter battlegrounds fighting alongside other players against game-controlled opponents. So instead of fighting against other PvPers, potentially people who have been playing this mode much longer than you, who have better PvP gear than you, and are going to wipe the floor with you, you'll be able to fight against some opponents who you'll have a little bit more of a satisfying win rate against. And because of that, we think this will be a pretty good on-ramp for people who are PvP curious, who want to get into PvP, but feel like there's just too much of a steep on-ramp because of those daunting aforementioned players who want to wipe the floor with you.
I feel like
this
I
is going to
was
start
always
with a couple battlegrounds.
better as a ranged caster about all the rogues coming after me in PvP. And one of my main ambitions about playing a rogue now is to join PvP at some stage.
That players will be able to jump into with Training Grounds, and we'll see where we go from there.
I think, we love PvP broadly speaking. I think one of the challenges is it can be very daunting to get in, as the question implies. You know, if you're getting into PvP for the first time, you're in some cases jumping into a pool that's filled with sharks who've been doing this for 20 years. But there's so much, you know, there's nothing quite like World of Warcraft PvP and that style of conflict, that style of combat. And so really our philosophical approach as we move into Midnight to really try to rejuvenate and grow the scene is to broaden the base of that pyramid so we can kind of lift the whole thing up and help all levels of it, whether you are, you know, the most hardcore person competing for titles at the end of every season. Everyone will be better served if people feel like they can actually enter this community for the first time and discover what is so great about WoW PvP.
Let's all be sharks.
So eventually.
The PvP player and creator known as Supatees had the most highly upvoted question on our forums. He wrote, "In the War Within, we saw major reward improvements and restructuring for Mythic Plus, which improved participation. Are there plans to look at the current reward structure for PvP, such as rating cutoffs or additional rewards?"
There are definitely plans to look at this. One thing I can say that will be changing at launch in Midnight and the first season of Midnight is that top tier cutoff coming down from 2,400 to 2,300 for those rewards and titles. I think looking at how MMR has evolved and how the rating ecosystem has played out, that's been a bit too exclusive even for some of our best players. Broadly speaking, beyond that, I think there's a lot more that we would like to do with the system. That's not necessarily going to be happening right at launch in Midnight, but if you look, for example, at what we changed with Mythic Plus and new titles and new structure and things like the resilient keystone system in War Within, those changes came in War Within patches. So as we look to PvP and its evolution over the course of Midnight, that's definitely an area that we want to focus on.
Okay.
Got another one. Sandent on the WoW forums wrote, "Will War Mode receive more well-needed attention? More activities like zone objectives or rotating events? Maybe a free-for-all treatment?"
Yeah, we're adding a whole new area into the Voidstorm zone, a giant war mode area which reflects the same space as the Slayer's Rise Battleground. If you watched the deep dive video, you got to see that. That Slayer's Rise is also made manifest in the zone itself. And this is, you know, if you've played war mode in past expansions, you know that we've taken a couple war mode
Because I actually have questions for you if you're there.
areas and had maybe one in each zone, you know, one in Ringing Deeps and one in Isle of Dorn, where PvP, when you enable war mode, you'll have some special unique activities. We took all those and glumped them all together right into this Slayer's Rise area, and so there's going to be a huge PvP playground if you have war mode on, be able to do lots of cool world quest activities, reasons to just kill one another, and even if you don't have war mode enabled, there'll still be PvP themed content for folks doing world quests up in that area.
Why would you not have war mode enabled?
That's a very good question. Yeah.
Because you're afraid of sharks?
Yeah, it's sharks.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
thank you. So, Maclemente26 on Reddit asked a question that we saw a lot of, which is, when can we expect reputations from expansions prior to Shadowlands to become Warbound reputations?
So yeah, taking full accountability here. I know that when we rolled out the warbands, we said that we were going to work our way backwards through reputations. We haven't made progress as quickly as we would have liked. We got some of the Shadowlands reputations, but not the Covenant ones. This is something we're going to pick up and resume. I can't commit to a definite timetable, but in the long run, we don't want this, internal disparity between how different expansions reputations are handled, and we'll continue to start with the most recent and work our way backwards.
Thank you. 610 on Blue Sky said, War Within is the first WoW expansion without a legendary. Can we expect anything in Midnight, or is the team taking time to reevaluate what place legendaries have in the modern game?
I think we always want to avoid things seeming formulaic, where it's like, okay, you can expect it's a new season, there's going to be a new legendary, this is how it's going to work. Legendaries should always remain special. They should feel like these are items that have clear stories behind them and feel worthy of that special orange color. And yes, we're also looking always at issues with how they're awarded. We want to make sure they feel special, but also don't turn into something where it feels bad or grindy because they feel required if you want to be competitive. There's a fine line to walk there. There aren't currently any planned for the first tier of mid.
Oh shit, I am an idiot. Oh my god, I am an absolute dum-dum. No, you know what I did? because I don't look at like the chat that pops up on the like my screen of what's being streamed is over there, but I have a separate window with just the chat that's over here. But I scrolled up like 2 hours ago. So I was still on the same message for the past hour or hour and a half. And I haven't seen any updates. I was like, okay, you guys probably are doing your thing. Raven's probably playing something. Emma's probably programming. It's fine. I'm sure I'm playing somewhere in the background. It's okay. And then I was like, Raven, are you there? Are you there? Are you there? And nothing was coming up. And I was like, okay, Raven's not there. I am sorry. Oh my god, oh my god. Now I have beef with Madonna. Luna, don't stress, the stairs don't matter, spirituality matters. The stairs is just an illusion. There are no stairs. Oh, somebody said Diddy Blood. What? Which Diddy Blood? What does that mean? I don't get it. Repeating herself, drinking some blood wine and judging the peasants. But I thought I could place my little Katie, having a huge elephant sitting around. I have every profession on max if you need something. Oh yeah, actually, I wanna do professions as well. You have to explain to me how they work. But I was gonna ask, do you want to come on Discord so you can explain to me what they're talking about? Because I came in like, oh yeah, I love World of Warcraft. Let's hear what they're going to talk about. And they're talking and talking and I don't understand a single thing that they're saying. Sure, yeah, join the stream. Let's jump into our voice channel. A minute.
Oh no.
Hello, Raven. We have a very special cameo.
Hello, I am here.
It is a Raven.
And now I can't hear the stream anymore. So when they keep talking, I have to unmute the stream so I can hear it again.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Hi, Emma.
Unless you want to play it for yourself, put it to 14 minutes, 47 seconds, and we can play on 1, 2, 3, or whatever you like better.
It's fine. But when we continue watching, I will unmute the stream.
But please explain to me, what are they talking about?
Well, first they talk about housing, what they are planning to do, and then customizations, and then PvP and rewards and stuff. Like in housing, there was the question that if Horde players can have the Alliance things and the Alliance players the Horde things, and
this I remember, and the spells I remember as well, and the Battleground companion. But what were they saying about the reputation of Shadowlands? What was the whole thing?
Well, they made it so that the reputation in Shadowlands factions is shared across the entire account. So if you have on one thing they are max, you have it on every character.
Like warbands.
Yeah, like warband. Yeah, and but I think the rewards aren't, like the cosmetic rewards aren't.
Okay. So like if you're doing, say, like the Maw, and I remember the Shadowlands were very grindy, wasn't it?
It was.
So when you're doing like the Maw rewards or the reputation rewards for one of the 4 factions or all of them, then you can share these rewards across your like warband faction or something like that, yeah?
I mean, it should be like this right now. Like for me, it is. Oh. Maybe the person was just, I don't know.
They're confused. They're only the developer of the game. What do they know?
Yeah. I mean, you know my opinion about these.
Oh, they know. They just made the goddamn thing.
They can't even write their characters properly, so it's.
Right. Okay. That's weird. Okay. Well, let's listen, and we can listen, and then you can tell me if I have any questions. Because like sometimes like look, I'm kind of coming back and into World of Warcraft here and there, so like I'm not very knowledgeable about it, but I love this game because I've been playing it my whole life. It's just like I pop in, I pop out, I pop in, I pop out, so it would be good to get the context for some of these things that they're talking about.
Midnight, but as we
I'm playing, by the way.
face certain foes down the line, it may make sense for some of the items that they yield to have that orange color, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
I want to ask some lore questions. So, as Mira asked, will we be getting any more background information on story regarding Lyrath Windrunner? Sorry. Any of the other Windrunner family members, perhaps?
Absolutely. I don't want to talk too much about patches, but certainly in Midnight, as we go into the Spire, you will have the opportunity to really get a brother's view of his sisters. And an opportunity to learn a lot more about what happened and what's happening in that place. And I mentioned before, we're going to see the sisters.
Uh-huh.
And
wait, is Sylvanas coming back? I heard that she's getting a remodel.
I mean, she got a remodel.
Is it already live, the remodel of her?
Well, she is in the Maw still. Like, since the end of Shadowlands, she is still in the Maw. She had a short cameo on the Forsaken Heritage quest line. When you, before in Battle for Azeroth, picked her side instead of the honorable side, I would say like this. Then she tells you about how she always admires her loyalty and stuff. But that's the only thing we see Sylvanas beyond Shadowlands. Like, this is the only thing.
Okay. Do you reckon that she's gonna make an appearance? Because
they already announced
stuff is happening, right?
Yeah, but because she came back in Legion. But there was a comment from one of the devs that someone is coming through that portal from the cinematic, the light portal, that we do not expect. And two people are very high in. It's either Sylvanas or it's Illidan.
Okay.
People assumed even Illidan because he's called the Child of Light and Shadow, so it just makes sense. And he's always been defending Azeroth in his own ways.
But
the Demon Hunters
makes sense because Alleria is such a central character to the whole plot line, right?
Yes, but the thing is that they kind of hate each other now because Alleria is going to the Void, Sylvanas was like the Lich King, and Veressa was just there. She just got nothing, but I hope that will change in Midnight because she's important as well.
I wonder if Veressa is gonna have a role.
She should have. Like this would be the betrayal to the story if they bring up her brother, but not Veressa itself.
Right.
Like that would be.
Yeah,
stupid.
it would be weird, wouldn't it?
Mm.
But they have done weirder things before. Like, you know what I found out today? That Alleria's and Turalion's son was actually a character in the Burning Crusade, but he was just a dude who was hanging out at one of the inns, and he's just like, "I'm looking for my lost parents," and then that's it. And that's it. He nothing else. Just two most central to the lore characters had a baby, and this baby showed up. They made him. They gave him a model. They gave him the story of him crossing the portal and looking for his parents.
Luna, it's way worse in the future. Like he had a role in Legion because obviously his parents came back.
What was his?
But his remodeling in the Midnight is terrible.
Is it?
Oh my! When I saw his new model, I was like, "What have I done to my boy?"
Oh no!
It's really
he just
terrible.
had the generic blood elf look.
Yeah, but it fit. He was a half elf, but it fit. But now he looks like he's going through a phase.
What kind of a phase? I'm scared.
The punk phase.
The bad one. A punk phase. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna show it on the let me just lower this into the ground, and I'm gonna show it on the.
Maybe I can find a picture of Arator.
I'm gonna show it on the.
His name isn't Arator. What is his name? It is Aratok, but without the H, just with the T. Aratok
Okay.
the Redeemer.
Where did you drop it?
I'm gonna send it to you privately now. Wait, do we have the new in-game model already, or is it just the? I think we. Oh, there it is. Yeah, here's the new in-game model. I'm sending it to you privately.
Okay. Oh my god. He looks like he's going for a Viking look.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
But he's not a Viking. He's not even
Yeah,
something similar to a
You're an
Viking.
elf, bro. Can you
I
send me a
really
link
don't
so I
like
can
it.
put it on the
You can
stream
just
for people to see?
click on it. You can right click on it and then copy link or open link.
Oh, open link. All right, is it visible on stream? It is. Look
No,
at
it's not.
this. Look at this
No, yes.
boy.
You have to make it a bit bigger. I think, yeah.
Here he is.
Because
in
it's just a
all
little
his
big. Yeah.
splendor.
This is terrible.
It is what it is. I mean, it could have
Like-
been worse. I expected that he was gonna wear makeup, have the emo bang, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. And he still has half his armor, but then he's decided to rip out his breastplate for some reason and decides paladins don't need
Yeah.
arm guards or something like this. I don't know.
I'm too sexy for arm guards.
I mean, even
Let
his
me
father wears
let me
arm
show off my
guards.
forearms to the world. All right, well, let's carry on and see what they say.
Grody Toady on Blue Sky wants to ask about trolls. So here come all the names. Where is Vol'jin's story in all of this? I'm hoping we find a way to weave Vol'jin,
Actually,
Talanji.
Raven, can you give me a refresher? What happened after they introduced the not Zandalari, the Amani trolls for the first time? Because there was a dungeon as a special event or a patch at a certain stage in World of Warcraft, but it was a long time ago.
You mean in Burning Crusade?
Was it in Burning Crusade?
Like, actually, they had Zulaman, the raid
Yes,
in Burning
Zulaman,
Crusade,
yes.
where you fought
I did
Zul'jin.
it. I remember I did it. I did that. I was a fire mage, and I was so horrible because I didn't know what I was doing. People were calling me out that I'm an idiot, and they kicked me out of the party.
I remember this. Yeah, this was experience in Ulva for me. but it was a raid in Burning Crusade. Then they reworked it for Cataclysm into a dungeon.
Yes,
but that
I
was,
did
that's
it
what that was
as
it.
a dungeon in Cataclysm.
Yeah, and that was it. Like, they just had that.
Okay.
But Zul'jin is one of the major characters in the Warcraft lore in Warcraft 2, and they did him dirty, really dirty.
Why? What did they do?
They just put him into a raid and then make him banish, and that was it. He was one of the coolest characters that Warcraft had.
Okay. So yeah, was he leader of the Zulaman or?
Yeah, he was leader of the Armani. Yeah.
Of the Amani. Okay. But
And as far as I
who
know,
was the leader of the regular trolls? Wasn't it Vol'jin? No, was someone else.
it was Vol'jin until Legion. Now it is Roka from Warcraft 3 as well, from the Rexa campaign.
So Vol'jin actually has been present throughout Legion.
Yeah, I mean
'Cause I
throughout,
remember- I
not
felt like
to
I
the
remember his
beginning of
name.
Legion.
Okay, and he died.
He died in the beginning.
Oh shit.
It was terrible. I cried a little bit about it because it was
Aw.
really like heartbroken. Because he was a really good guy, and I can't stress this enough.
He was a
The
very
writers
good
of World of
troll.
Warcraft do not know how their characters work.
Yeah.
Like he's a shadow hunter. He's someone that throws totem, throws hexes, curses his enemies, throws glaze and stuff. And they just placed him in the front lines without armor, without I don't know, some other things. Like you don't put a mage into the front line as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what they did. That's really a shame. I think they did it just to get rid of him.
They did him really dirty.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what they're gonna say about it.
Zul'jin, Rokan, Zul'jan, and Zul'jara into a cohesive story about troll unity or cooperation.
Well, right out of the gate in Midnight, you're not going to see that combination of trolls, but you will see a combination of some trolls as we continue into patches and move forward. We're very much focused on what's going on with the trolls as well as what's going on with the Blood Elves. They have not always been on the best of terms for reasons. And there's definitely a story to be told about their relationship, and all of those folks come into that story.
Groxy on Blue Sky said, Midnight sees the Paladin forces of Azeroth fighting back the Void at the Sunwell. Can we hope to see more lore about the Tauren and Azeroth's sun god Ansha? Eyes of the Earth Mother told us how he and Elune slash Musha fought possibly the Void in ancient Azeroth.
Well, we are going to hang out with Desco a little bit in the Erator's Journey portion of our campaign at Midnight. And I feel like we certainly are going to look at how the Tauren view their mythologies, perhaps later in The Last Titan.
Okay, good.
Okay, so
let's talk about
Tauren are going to
add-ons.
come up in The Last
The
Titan.
WoW creator Polka TV said, given the upcoming removal of many boss mod tools, how do you plan to preserve the intended difficulty of encounters once these tools are no longer available?
So yeah, this is a great question. For some extra context, I think folks are going to see in the next day or two, as some of the media interviews we've done in the last day go out, that we are rolling out so changes to the add-on API with the launch of Midnight. And so that is going to remove the ability for add-ons to read in real time combat state and combat information specifically. And one of the big reasons why we're doing this with the launch of a new expansion is so that we can really build all of our combat, our encounters around that expectation, around this new ecosystem. As we've been discussing over the course of the year, really the main goal with this shift is to create a level playing field where external tools are no longer felt to be required in order to engage in the content, at a competitive level. And also to shift some of the things that we are testing when it comes to difficulty, maybe away from Twitch reactions and how quickly you can run to the circle or diamond marker that your add-on told you to run to, and rather to more of the collaborative coordination that have traditionally marked cooperative PvE in WoW. But the goal is to keep difficulty largely the same. In terms of how many pulls it takes to down a boss for your guild, whether you are aiming for ahead of the curve and defeating Heroic, or whether you're pushing into Mythic or whatever else, overall it should take you about the same amount of time to accomplish what you're used to accomplishing. It's just that difficulty may come in slightly different places. Without add-ons to solve mechanics for you in real time, it may well be the case that we
Wait,
just...
are they removing add-ons for mechanics of bosses and encounters? Is that
They are, yeah, they are trying to remove and ban every combat add-on, and they want to make their own UI tailored to these encounters, so that you don't have the need for external add-ons, which is a good part for new players, because they don't feel like he said, required to download external tools to engage in this kind of content.
Yeah,
And
it should be part of the base game, but I have a feeling they're gonna fuck it up.
Like it so much, yeah. But it might be possible. I mean, we will see in the upcoming expansion how how this will happen. But I don't mind
low expectations,
because people are just spamming add-ons to change their interface to a point where it doesn't look like World of Warcraft anymore, and it's just terrible at some point. Like if you watch at some streamers, it's not normal anymore.
Yeah, I mean, like I actually just yesterday got a whole bunch of add-ons, and I was like, I wasn't like properly playing with them, but I was testing them out this morning just to see how they work, and I have a couple of like boss encounter add-ons and stuff. And yeah, okay, it's great. Hopefully they will have it as the part of the in-game mechanic, but I have a feeling that they're gonna severely fuck it up.
We will see. We will see. I don't think they bring that, but that much of a bad thing. I mean, the one button rotation is still heavily discussed in the community. But for people who do not know the classes, but the one button rotation, where you just need one button and the algorithms pick out the spells you need to refresh, to cast now and stuff. So that when you play a new class or spec, that you can just engage in content without knowing fully your class and then learn it over the course of time.
Oh, so it's like you click one button, you spam at one button, and the algorithm is giving you the spell that's supposed to come next.
Yes.
Oh shit.
It was mainly made for accessibility, so that people that can't like focus on the keys and their type that they can play. It is part of the game, yes, but I told you this, they have increased global cooldowns, so they won't ever be as good as a normal player would play. But people are improving through that, and people are crying that this is bad and this will ruin World of Warcraft, but it didn't.
Okay.
It's just trying on a high level for the people.
Like, because it is something that I would be kind of like worried about from the perspective of like you play it to figure it out, right? Like, it's like, how much are we going to allow, and I'm sorry, Ima, I'm coming for your algorithms here, but how much are we going to allow the algorithms to control even our entertainment and give us everything, like do everything for us to such an extent where we no longer have to think, you know, like isn't
but
part of the
if you
fun
want
figuring it out, you know?
If you want to figure it out, and this is one of your focuses, you can still figure it out. You don't have to play with it. You're not forced to play with it.
Yeah.
And I still think figuring out your own spells, your own rotations is better than using this one, because I played with this button for, I don't know, with two different specs, like the Feral Druid and I think the Warlock, and it's terrible. Like the Feral, for the Feral Druid, the button was only pressing one button. It was the Rake, the ability, the Bleed effect, and just the entire time, even though the effect was just applied. It's not good, but I think for new players, for people that can't use that many buttons, I don't know, it's okay. But for competitive, it's still shit. Like, this is only for the casual mass. So if you really want to play competitive or get into the game and bring your own skills out, it's not good.
Right.
And it's just, as I said, it's just trying on a high level.
Okay.
For people.
Okay, fair enough.
Ima
is saying, let them control everything. The world will be perfectly organized.
She's not wrong.
Because you said so. Need I remind you that you're the one telling ChatGPT that he's doing it wrong and that you could do it better?
We're actually going to be launching Alpha with a raid boss available for testing early on. We have a ton of native improvements to the UI, like boss timers, boss alerts, so you can see a timeline of upcoming boss abilities, nameplate improvements, cooldown manager improvements, and more. To, again, kind of create a unified experience that's baked into the UI. But the goal at the end of the day is for difficulty to remain where it was, and we will be making tuning changes in alpha and beta, as well as, of course, once these encounters are live, to make sure that things are landing in the right place and players still feel well equipped to overcome the challenges in front of them.
Following that, Sped Bros on Reddit asked, what is your plan for upkeep and development of these now built-in add-ons?
So I think the functionality that we're pulling into the base UI is something that, as always, we're going to be evolving in response to player feedback. Again, part of why we're very excited to get people having a look at these right at the start of alpha is so that we have the entirety of the alpha and beta cycle to iterate on them before midnight launches. And then, of course, as always, even after the game is live, we're going to continue to add functionality based on the player requests and the feedback that we're receiving.
Ossicrond on the WoW forum.
By the way, Raven, so access to beta of Midnight is available if we purchase the Epic Edition, which I'm considering to do. Are you purchasing the Epic Edition or the standard one?
I will buy the Epic Edition, but not yet. Like I will wait
Yeah, I was gonna wait until
for I don't
December,
know
I
when.
think, because
Yeah,
December they're
probably.
gonna
I probably.
be rolling out the housing. So I was wondering to do some special streaming for the beta of Midnight. Would you like to do that?
Maybe. I'm not sure. I have to contemplate if I buy it now or I'll buy it later.
Okay.
Because I haven't bought it yet,
Said,
and
Yeah, yeah.
Sculpting your UI
I'm
over the
I'm
years
I'm
is
in a
almost like
financial
working on a classic car.
dip.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Fine tuning with different fonts, color palettes, and even different types of glow alerts. What is the depth of the available customization, and are there plans to expand it in the future?
So there's a couple of facets to this question. First off, couldn't agree more that I think UI customization and using add-ons to tailor the aesthetic of a UI, how information is presented and where it's presented, I think are one of the hallmarks of the WoW experience and really one of the strengths of the game for going.
You know what I discovered yesterday? That I can edit the layout of my bars, where they are, how big they are, and all that kind of stuff. And that really prompted me to reevaluate my entire way in which I'm engaging with World of Warcraft. I think I'm gonna have a much better time now.
Could you repeat that, please?
You know the edit menu option, or the edit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because before you used to have to download LVUI in order to edit
Yeah.
your bars in that way in World of Warcraft. But I discovered it yesterday, and I sort out my bars and everything in such a way I think I'm gonna have a really good time playing now.
Yeah, this is one of the things they changed as well. Like they removed the need for an external tool to do that.
Yeah.
And it's good. I really like it.
Yeah,
as
I
well.
like it as well.
There are no plans to eliminate or remove that. The approach we've taken in changing the way the add-on API works really is just focused on access to that real-time information. There'll be details coming out very soon from our UI engineering team on exactly how this works. But whereas in the past, when we have restricted aspects of what add-ons can do, we tend to just kind of wall off sections of our UI and say add-ons can't touch this at all. But when it comes to things like nameplates or unit frames and the like, that would have been an unacceptable approach here because that aesthetic customization is so essential. So there's a brand new system that's been created where essentially pieces of information about what's going on in combat are put in the black box. And add-ons can paint that box pink or yellow or green or make it bigger or smaller, but what they can't do is know exactly what's inside the box and use that to drive logic. In addition to that, the new UI functionality that we're adding, whether it's improved nameplates or whatever, have extensive customizations in terms of size, shape, location, aesthetic, all of the edit mode functionality and more. But we have no intent of pulling back in any way from the aesthetic customization that add-ons have always offered.
Cutting to the chase, Felfer on the WoW forums asked, does this mean that existing add-ons like Deadly Boss Mods, Plater, or Details are going to break?
They will change significantly. I think certainly, day one, if you're logging into alpha and you try to enable them, I do not believe they will work due to changes in the API, but that's standard for any new expansion release. We are inviting the authors of a vast range of add-ons into our first week of alpha, so that's going to be coming up in just the next few days, to get their hands on these changes, to give us feedback about how we can better support their ongoing development. But yes, when it comes to the specific ability to read and process combat information and use that to drive logic, that is going to be changing, and that will affect those add-ons.
Okay, give me one more. This comes from Herrix on the WoW forums. Herrix said, what are the plans regarding improvements to the default raid frames? In the effort to reduce the need for add-ons, raid frames are a major pain point for healers, where the default Blizzard raid frames are basically unusable without at least some external modification.
So yeah, we also have improvements coming to raid frames, definitely with healers in mind. If you're, let's say, a Resto Druid who wants to be able to see all of your HOTS on a target, that's something that we agree is very important and needs to be baked into the default functionality. Same with encounter designers calling out major buffs and debuffs and things that you need to know in an encounter, whether you're a healer or just a raid leader wanting to keep tabs on the state of the encounter that way. And of course, as mentioned earlier, add-ons will still be able to customize the look and the feel and the size and the overall presentation of RAID frames, there just won't be certain functionality that is driving logic based on whether you happen to have a certain debuff or not. But all the rest should still be available.
E. Chow on Blue Sky has a couple of questions. Given the connection to the Army of Light, the Sunwell and Blood Elves in general being their main rival in the Burning Crusade, will we see Draenei play any sort of role? Also, will Quel'Thalas be, with Quel'Thalas being part of the main world now, will there be any updates to Forsaken Lands?
So the Draenei, obviously will be part of the fight, part of the battle that we're waging against the Void. But this chapter is focused on the Blood Elves and the Blood Elves struggle with some trolls, and we're gonna really be leaning in there more than we are with the Draenei. Opportunities, will come up for the Draenei to have their moment in the light, as it were.
Yeah. And as it goes for like changes to Forsaken Lands, well, there's some minor changes as we've added Quel'Thalas and Zul'Aman into the main body of the Eastern Kingdom.
Actually, Raven, have they done any changes to Tirisful Glades ever since it became poisoned in Battle for Azeroth?
Yeah, they did a little quest chain. Not a little quest chain, but a quest chain in Shadowlands at the end of Shadowlands. Where you reduce the blight and take it away, and then even the Forsaken Heritage quest line for the armor plays there, and the region is cleansed now. But I have to comment something about this, because they were asking about Tirisful Glades. What they aren't asking about is Exoda, the homeland of the Draenei, which is in the same area, like technically not really, as Silvermoon. They were part of one map, but very, very far away. And you couldn't fly on both of them. So I would have asked if they are making changes to Exeter as well, because that would be a bit of unfair, giving the Blood Elves the entire new zone and not changing anything about Exeter.
Right, because it's still the same state that it was in Burning Crusade, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Right. I wonder if they're gonna give them a redesign. But didn't they fly away during Legion?
Technically, yes, but still the zone is still there. So they could, and they used another ship, not the Exeter itself. The Exeter is still there.
Okay. Yeah, that's a bit weird, isn't it? Okay. Well, let's see what they say.
To connect them in. So there's a tunnel in the Forsaken Lands that does connect it in. We are going to see some Forsaken characters as well. We're actually going to be working with a little bit of a deep cut, but Alonsis Fowl, the Archpriest, is going to be a character who appears and has a couple interesting interactions and chats with Eretor and Liadrin and others. So we're going to continue to build out Forsaken story as we continue.
Yeah, and I think looking at how this is playing out and will continue to, I think we're very excited by some of the reception we've heard from Gamescom onwards about the changes to Silvermoon, Eversong, and more. Honestly, there was a bit of anxiety internally about the idea of revisiting an old location as for one of our zones, whether some players would view that as like somehow lesser than coming up with a brand new place. But I think as people see this full splendor of Silvermoon, get a chance to revisit Eversong and what it's become all these years later, I think the excitement around that really excites us too, because we'd love to be able to tell more new stories in some of the iconic locations that resonate throughout everyone's fandom of Warcraft and what Azeroth is about. And so that will mean updating those locations, and I think that's something that we're excited to do more of as we look forward. Of course, The Last Titan will see us going back to Northrend, so that'll be a story for another day.
We're gonna go back to Northrend. Okay, that's something interesting. Did you know that before?
I didn't know that. No, I didn't know that, but it's very interesting. Yeah, I like this one.
How? Haven't we already gone back to Northrend in the Shadowlands? I remember.
Not really. Okay. In Icecrown, yeah, because the sky was splitting up and the undead were furious. But yes, but I mean that's kind of cool. Maybe they will rework it, but then they should have to rework Burning Crusade World as well. I mean, I mean, this
fascinating,
was
isn't
also
it?
an awesome zone, yeah.
Okay, speculation time. Do you wonder that there's gonna be World of Warcraft 2 after the World Saga?
I don't know.
Do you have a hunch about it?
I have no clue. I can't see where they are going with that. I mean, we still have some threads open and still some open stories, but I don't know. I even don't know how this would look like. Maybe they will. No, I don't think so. They will keep that sheep, that cow, and milk it, like it's until it's dead.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, the main income is from World of Warcraft, I assume, and
Yeah.
why would they change that?
Yeah, I get it. I wonder
But
if
I'm
there's gonna be like a massive graphic revamp or something.
I mean, they
Because the
need it,
engine
yeah,
they're
because
they're running, like, you know what I mean? Like, it could still be the same world, but I think that they need to
yeah,
get rid of the cartoonish look.
if you look at some models, it's really goofy, and they need to
Yeah.
change that a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel because I feel like they're still in 2004 where it looks like a cardboard cutout, and I think that they need to get on that Unreal 5, if you know what I mean.
I don't think they will do that because imagine a
imagine.
world with that engine. I don't think any PC could run that.
Right. Yeah, no, but they
I mean, if you have loading screens between zones, then maybe, but the game will be big as fuck.
Look,
Like
they could
a lot.
but they could still they could do it maybe in the style of, like, say, Dragon Age Inquisition. I mean, that game is gorgeous. Even by today's standard, it's still gorgeous, and it's like 15 years old almost. So
Yeah, it is.
they could do it like that.
For sure,
Maybe
discovered
different,
that, like we can tell different stories when we
bringing
go
out
to
one or
old
two or
places
three
and see
zones
how-
that are important, and then another zone, like maybe on a smaller scale, if they do it.
What do you mean?
Maybe, yeah, if they're gonna bring out a second game, then they put it on a smaller scale, like with 3 or 4 zones instead of
But
300.
the one thing that I love about World of Warcraft is how big it is. Like, it's the one thing that, like, it really distinguishes it, you know?
I have ads right now, so if you continue watching, I won't see anything.
Okay.
how characters have changed, see how the spaces have changed. It's been
Yeah,
really cool
but
opportunity to do
we can
that.
talk about Eversong real quick because
Let's
I
shift to
really
some class
I
talk.
quested there a few weeks ago, and I saw some little cut scenes from Crendor, how you explored it, and it looks wonderful, and also Tranquillian and the Ghost, and they look gorgeous, and I really want to quest there again. The thing is, am I gonna quest there again with my max level character, or am I gonna quest with a new character?
I
Because-
actually have a undead character that I want to level.
Yeah, you mean now, or
Like, as in, like, I created her and she's there and she's ready to be leveled. But it's a priest, and I want to have a shadow priest, and I want to have her for midnight. Because I feel like a shadow priest is gonna be great to have during midnight. I feel like just story wise it's gonna really work. But yeah, whenever you're ready, like,
I mean, you could play that character in Legion Remix and then export it to.
Legion
or
Remix,
you
I'm
want
gonna
to
play
quest.
DH.
Only
And I want to
know,
quest into the Full Glade because I've never done that.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's definitely worth it to quest them now. Before the changes hit, yeah. Because there's still some stories there that are kind of interesting, or... I mean, taking a look at the zone before they change everything is still worth it.
Yeah.
Like, really.
Yeah,
Then you can
that's
see the
why
contrast
I'm
between both
I'm questing
both
through
zones.
Silver Moon right now on my rogue, just to have the last taste of the old Eversong Forest, you know?
The old ass ugly Eversong Forest. Okay, the ads are over.
Yeah. All right, let's play it. Let's finish that.
Faxia on Reddit asked, are you planning on adding any new specs that can tank or heal for existing classes?
Not right now in Midnight. I think Devourer, Demon Hunter, and that new range DPS spec for them is our focus right now. But I think we've seen, whether it's this or whether it's augmentation, there is excitement around the idea of established classes getting new specs. And so that is something I think we are likely to explore as we look to the future.
Oh.
Zerotics on Reddit asked, throughout the War Within, some classes and specs received visual updates, and as a monk player, the update to Vivify was very appreciated. Are there any other classes or specs that can be revealed to be getting updated visuals in Midnight?
Yeah, there's a couple really cool Apex talents. So Apex talents are the new talents you'll be able to learn at the bottom of your spec tree, and a lot of these have some fantastic visuals. Ones that jump out to me are the augmentation, where you summon a bronze dragon version of yourself from the future to fight alongside you for a little bit. The Frost Mage one as well, you summon a hand of frost that chases down your target and attack them. And so these are some of the new abilities that are going to get some new custom visuals. As far as like looking back at older visuals, as was the case with Vivify, this is something that we tend to do as we continue to build smaller patches. Most of our efforts for Midnight was building all the new stuff, but then as we continue building out the game, we look to the future. This is where we look back at, as we did with Vivify, find abilities where we can raise the floor and say, like, okay, this one has aged not as gracefully as the rest of our visuals, and we can bring it up to par with the rest.
Following that, we found a question from Nihenna on the German forums, and Nihenna asked, will the void/light topic be picked up in any additional class specs in the future? For example, Sunwell effects for a Holy Paladin, or perhaps void powers for a Warlock?
I don't know about void warlocks quite yet, but we do have a existing void themed spec, the Shadow Priest, my beloved Shadow Priest, which has a new ability, Tentacle Slam, which replaces Shadow Crash, and it is a giant voidy tentacle that slams down in a line in front of you and has a similar AoE component, but a lot more of a classic voidy Shadow Priest idea to it. We also have on one of our Apex talents, the Discipline Priest has Void Shield, which replaces your Power Word Shield with a Void-themed shield. So there are places where the Void and Light are leaking into our class design.
Going back to the support roles, Neo Saro on the EU Spanish forums asked, can we expect anything new regarding the support role in Midnight? Will it be expanded to other classes? Is it considered that it maybe didn't work as expected for augmentation, and perhaps that just becomes a normal damage or healer?
So we're not planning on currently expanding it to other classes, but we're also not planning on changing augmentation to just fit into the existing niches. I think there's a lot of excitement around the idea of support, and I think we've seen players embrace that fantasy. I think we are still iterating on evolving that specialization and getting to a place where we can find a happy medium, where it can kind of realize that fantasy and be effective as someone who bolsters the strength of your allies without also becoming so effective that it feels required in groups and kind of limits composition diversity. I think if we're able to achieve that, hopefully when we're able to achieve that, I do think we would like to look to what other ideas might apply a different fantasy to executing that concept.
I want to switch to the topic of delves. The WoW content creator True Villain Manny said, with delves integrated into the story, will there be certain scenarios that are locked in as we level? And will there be additional story in those alternative scenarios with delves?
Yeah, as we move through the campaign in Midnight, we will be entering delves with specific goals in mind. And that particular variant of the story will have the objectives that we need to accomplish as we go through them. As always, our delves will have multiple variants to play through with different stories occurring. So yes, we will continue to use delves in this way, and look for opportunities to continue to build quest content that enters delves.
So let's go inside. Varteris on the WoW forums said, will delves have even greater variety than in the War Within? Maybe a randomized puzzle to solve, a race, a whole new set of abilities?
Yeah, there's a couple ways that delves are changing. We have a new follower, Valera Sanguinara, is going to come along, and she's going to mix things up. She's takes delves a little bit more seriously than Brand does, and a lot more stabbily as well. We also have some outdoor delves.
I have to say, I've enjoyed the delves that I did so far. It's a good way to do a little bit of story content with Oh, bye, Ima. Honestly, I think I'm gonna be going as well because I can hear that Nev is getting ready for bed, and I have to bring him to work at like 6:30 in the morning. So I better go. Raven, can we finish this tomorrow? By the way.
We can finish this tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah.
No problem.
Okay, then we'll be back tomorrow. Yorkie, nice to see you. I know it's been short and sweet. Thank you. I've been experimenting with this. I knew I wanted to have something like this. Now everything else is gonna depend on the detailing. Let's see where I can take it with the detailing. I like the idea of doing like a sort of memorial garden here, inspired by partially cyberpunk, partially the Jewish memorial in Berlin. Well, mostly probably because that's where the main inspo came from. But I really like it, like this kind of like concrete stairway that is also like a place where people can just sit and hang out. It's something that I really wanted to do. The only thing I'm missing is like water jets, because I really would like to do a water feature here, but I don't know how to get water jets for Cities Skylines. If you know, let me know, because I would love to do it. But I'm gonna go now. We'll finish the Q&A tomorrow because I'm so tired and I have to wake up so early tomorrow. So guys, thank you so much. If you liked it, like, subscribe, drop a comment down below. Let me know that you're watching. I'll be back tomorrow with more Cities Skylines content at 12 p.m. London time. I'm back with more Cities Skylines building and some more reactions, watching stuff, responding, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, thank you so much. I'll see you on the next one. And oh, Raven was here.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Raven. Sorry. When
It's
you
fine.
fall silent, it's like a silent raven, you know. All right.